Testing, testing.
This is when we open our bags. Okay?
There you go. Why does it do that? Testing. Are we testing? So we're live. Can you guys hear us? Why does it do that?
Uh-oh. It's going to create a feedback loop.
Are we testing? So we're live. Can you guys hear us? Oh, we can turn on this light.
How did it turn on?
I don't know. It like loses power or something. This thing. I guess I gotta be careful with the wires. Can you guys hear us?
I think there's too much light on me and not enough light on you.
You know, we can probably just lower it. Alright. This is where we open our snacks. Actually, let me get the other Chromebook so that way you can have a... Alright guys, can you hear us? Let us know. We're here to talk about all your favorite things that we love. Let me get some sanitizer in here.
Sanitize it!
Sanitize what?
I don't know.
Alright guys.
This is when we open our bags. Okay?
Ooh. Oh, the volume's on this.
Alright guys. This is when we open our bags.
Oh god. Just open it, let them hear it.
Feel it. The agony.
The agony. Alright. I'm gonna start
The strong.
Alright. Here we are guys. In the flesh. Alright, are we centered? How are we? Are we centered in the cameras?
Yeah.
This is where I did the lifestyle, right? Yeah. So I had to like completely take down everything that was in here and redo it for the lifestyle. And I mean redo it for this podcast. So I hope I did everything right. Let me know. Can you guys hear us? Can you hear the crinkling of my snacks?
And they're not carrots. sorry, Megan. No carrots. It's my cheat day today. I have M&M's. Oh.
Weren't we maskless last time?
Yeah.
The cousin said she's not used to seeing our face.
Well, she should. I've known her since we were, like, children.
I remember that was maskless last time. So, we're just here to eat snacks with you guys.
It's one of those sound things.
Yeah. Let us know what snacks you guys are eating. Well, there's no echoes, right? You guys can hear us perfectly? Last time we did it, there was like 20 echoes. We were in the audio inception. Alright. So, thank you guys for watching. This is podcast number 3. We noticed the first podcast we were talking about... what were we talking about? The Killing Joke. LOL, it's like seeing Batman take off the cowl despite knowing who's under there. Yes, this is. You know what? I'm just gonna put the mask back on.
No,
I'm fine.
It's what you did, Megan. You made him uncomfortable.
It's okay. It's all right. I did disinfect this whole entire room before we started.
We came in hazmat suits.
Yes.
Like Walt and Jesse.
I was Walton and Matt was Jesse, even though he's older than me, but he has the complexion of a 25-year-old, and I have the complexion of a 40-year-old man with terminal cancer. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, he has cancer, right? Who's also addicted.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Did you think I was just no?
I thought you were just saying
I'm talking
you had
about
cancer.
the show. No,
I forgot. Yeah, Walt.
Yeah, like I forgot. That's the main premise of the show.
Not cousin is glorious and should remain maskless.
Thank you, but I'm fine. Just kidding.
Take
fine.
it off.
I'm fine.
The reactions are what people want to see.
You guys could see you could see my reactions with my hands. I'll do that.
It's not.
How does it look on your? This time we're a little slightly more prepared. Now Matt has his own laptop. I have my own laptop. So now both of us can look at the comments. The first time we were sharing a laptop and we were just squinting at the comments. The second time, I think Matt had the laptop. I was using my phone. Unless you were using your phone.
I think I was using my phone.
One of us, but I remember my phone was dying. So it was like not a good idea. So this time we both have laptops. We both have chargers. So yeah.
Ready.
All right.
Ready for it.
Where's Tristan? Tristan's not there.
He was pumped. We were gonna talk about something he liked.
Yeah, we were gonna talk about. So we were gonna talk about Timeless, which is.
Oh, there he is.
Tristan here to talk about Timeless. Also, Isaac, I do like your shirt. Daredevil is a pretty good lawyer. Yes. Just ask Matt. Which Matt am I talking about though?
No.
Am I talking about Matthew Nave or Matthew Murdoch?
You said my whole name on the thing. The creditors are after me, man.
The creditor. The debt collectors.
Imagine a movie, The Creditor, instead of
The Creditor. We're having your money. Alright, so Timeless, which is basically like a setup for what's to come in the Marvel Universe, comics, and even movies, I suppose. We had different variant covers, kind of just honoring the... What is it? Because there was one with the Falcon, it's Captain America.
Characters.
We still have plenty of copies, Peter. Just different variants. We don't have the Miss Minutes one. That was the one that was highly sought after and sold out and all that. Whew. I tried ordering more to see if they would come in. They haven't. Yeah, they told me where they were back ordered, but I still ordered them anyway. So hopefully, if they don't come in, they give us back the money that I spent. 40 more copies. But I did the same thing with the Thor. But yeah, this is the regular cover, King the Conqueror on it. The other covers had like She-Hulk. They also had the Captain America Falcon, or Sam Wilson Captain America, and then of course Miss Minutes from the Loki TV show. So it's been pretty cool. Matt read it today. I read it when it came out, and because I was like, oh, Miss Minutes, she's in the comic, and then I read it. Spoiler alert, she's not in the comic, but it's still really good. Like it gives you is Isaac's Matt's boss?
Yes.
No, I don't like that term.
Well, it's true.
In on paper, yes, I guess.
Answer to you.
I
fight you, Master White.
There's going to be a second printing. Yeah, second printing coming out. The regular cover is going to be is gonna be the for the second printing is gonna be the Punisher's new look. Because in the comic they get like a sniplet of the Punisher's new.
It's supposed to be like the head of the hand.
Yeah, so it's a new look. It's not necessarily that skull that we know. And then what else? Then the incentive. There's a 1 in 25 that is. Oh, man, I don't remember. I was talking about it with Andrew earlier. But the 1 in 50 is the Miss Minutes cover, but black and white. It's going for like $150 right now. Hasn't even been out yet.
All right.
Where's Gabriel Torres? He's not even watching. Gabriel.
So after we talk about Timeless, we're gonna talk about Nightwing.
And then we're also going to talk about the Grails or comics that we've...
we're going to have like a little conversation about our own personal comic collections and things like that, because people like to hear about those stories of how you get a key comic. And like,
when I first started working here, I asked Ramsey. I was like, Ramsey, what's your Grail? You know, what is your... Gabriel thought it's driving. He's watching. Be careful, Gabriel.
Don't crash.
Don't bid and drive. We're actually having a claim sale. $1. No, I'm kidding.
Half a bag of M&Ms.
What's it called? When I first started working here, I asked Ramsey, and I was like, "Hey, Ramsey, what's your Grail? What are your best comics?" And then he told me that his Grail, his personal Grail, was the first appearance of Thor that he has, Journey into Mystery. He told me the whole story of how somebody traded it in. He said that they had just moved into this location from the Pecan location, and this man came in with a bunch of like comic Silver Age books, and right there on the top, Journey into Mystery was on the top, and he's like, I want to sell this. What did he say? He's like, it's I know what I have. He's like, so don't try to cheat me out. And Ramsey was like, oh man, like, did
he give him an Aaron Parades price?
Oh my gosh, no, like, so Ramsey was like, oh man, like, since this is we just moved into this building, you know, our money's kind of short, like we can't really do any purchases. And so Ramsey, you know, had to dig into his personal, and I was like, man, like, these books are worth so much, like I can't offer you more than $3,000, like, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's $3,000, but I'm pretty sure it was $3,000. And the guy was like, sure, I'll take it. And then he took it for that much, and Ramsey was like, oh, and he's like, are you sure? And the guy's like, yeah, I'll take it, I don't care. And then he took it, and then as he was exiting the door, the guy was like, by the way, I didn't even know what I had in there. And then he just left. So Ramsey could have offered that guy like $50, and he probably would have said yes. But
didn't he walk in and say, I know what I have?
Yeah, so he said it. He said it as a lie. And it's a funny story, but Ramsey was like, well, this is mine, Journey into Mystery, and he got it graded. And this was before Ragnarok, so it wasn't even going for as much as it's going now. And he got it graded. I think it came back like a 6.5, 6.0, which is actually pretty high for a first appearance Thor. And if I'm not mistaken, a 6.0 for that goes for like 10, 15,000. I don't know. So I was, and then there was also the Amazing Spider-Man Annual 1, which is the first Sinister Six. He got a bunch of stuff, and the store also got a bunch of stuff too. Some of the stuff that's in the Westlago backstock is some of the stuff part of that collection, like all the Silver Age stuff. Every time I bring it up to Ramsey, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was part of the that collection," and I'm just like, "Wow, crazy." But that's, I don't know why I'm telling Ramsey's story. No kidding. But all right, Matt. So what is your?
I'm gonna put all my Grail stories either involve you or Matt.
It all started when I walked into Kaboom and Mr. Nave was standing at the counter,
asleep,
texting. No, I'm kidding.
Marvel Zombie comics. I don't think there's any new stuff, right? Marvel Zombies related.
Not at the moment, unfortunately, but probably soon.
What is the rarest comic of all? I think the most sought after comic would either be Action Comics First Appearance Superman or Detective Comics.
Yeah. As far as like Golden Age, for sure Action Comics, Captain America 1, I feel like that's, I mean, it's definitely really hard to get Captain America 1, but I feel like it's a lot harder to get Action Comics number 1. What's it called?
Didn't they sell it recently? Somebody had a really good copy and sold it for like $1 million.
I'm pretty sure it was a lot more.
My goodness, my gracious.
There was I was watching clips on Pawn Stars the other day. I like to watch.
But it's fake!
I know, but it's just like, I wonder. But I think it was on TikTok. It was an account, and there was one where this guy brought in the what did he bring? I think he brought. I saw multiple. That's why, but I don't remember this particular guy. I saw one where it was an Amazing Fantasy 15, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man, and then Batman #1, I think, which is supposed to be the first appearance of the Joker and Catwoman, or the Cat is what they called her. So those were the ones I saw, and the guy was like,
You know what Batman says to her in that book?
"No."
Stuff you can't say anymore. Basically, she was dressed as an old woman, trying to what's it called? Steal a whole bunch of stuff. And Batman was like, "That's no old lady." Grabbed her like mask and hair and was like yanking it off, and she was like, "Hey, stop! You're hurting me." And he says, and I quote, like, "Quiet down or Papa spank."
That's how they talked in the 30s. No, I'm kidding. It's like 40s, but
Papa spank. Batman #1. Put that on a t-shirt.
I'm seeing the subtitles here, and she just keeps saying "Papa Spank." And that's it. Papa Spank, Papa Spank. Oh my gosh! All right, Matt. So the people want to know, what are some personal grails that you've owned, plan on owning, would want to own, and the stories behind them?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones I had was the Raphael #1 that was signed by Kevin Eastman. My family used to own a comic book store. We used to run one. This was like 2009 or something. It was a while back. And basically this guy came in, traded in a whole bunch of comics and stuff, and the Raphael #1 was in his stuff, and he was like, "No, you can have it." And I was like, thank you so much. And
was it going for a lot at that time?
Not too much, because the turtle craze hadn't like hit hard yet. Yeah, Louis Comics was the name of the store, and what's it called? So I had that comic, and I sat on it for a long time. I just had it in my collection, and I thought it was super cool because Raphael's my favorite turtle, and it was also the first appearance of Casey Jones, who's one of my favorite characters. Mm-hmm. So it was just great. And eventually, I got an opportunity to go to Comic-Con when I graduated from high school, and I went with a bunch of friends, and Kevin Eastman was doing this like turtle anniversary thing,
mm-hmm.
and I basically got to hear him tell a whole bunch of stories, and one of them was really funny because he was talking about how he has a cameo. Did you know he has a cameo in the first Turtles movie?
Kevin Eastman?
He's in it.
The original 90s
Turtles movie.
Animatronic suit.
Yeah, man, the Jim Henson Turtles. He's there.
I don't remember. No.
Basically, he showed pictures, and he was like, "Okay, so they told me like stand over here. We're gonna shoot this scene." First, they asked him like, "Hey, do you want to be in the movie?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome." So he does it, and they're like, "Okay, stand over here, and we're gonna take the shot and do this and that." And then he gets super excited. He doesn't see what it looks like. He tells his friends and family, "I'm in the Turtles movie. It's gonna be great." So like they're all there at the theater watching it, and he's like, "Oh man, I can't wait! I'm gonna be here at this scene." And that scene pops up. And he's like, "Here it comes!" And there's this blurry like black blob.
Really?
Yeah, really
It's
far
like
in the background.
Episode.
Yeah, it's like
there I am,
Gary. It's just like his elbow.
The hat and the half of it, like not even half, like 1/10 of his square. Like
yeah, man. So yeah, that's
his
basically
elbow.
like,
I forgot.
He's there as this like amorphous silhouette blob, like moving in the background near the end where they have like that big trash truck that Shredder falls into and stuff. So he's just in the background, and he's like, he was so upset. He was like, "You didn't tell me I was like barely visible." So yeah,
why would they do that?
I don't know. But after he told his stories and stuff, he got down, and he was super personable. Very nice guy. So I walked up to him with the Raphael. Didn't charge me anything. I just said like, "Hey man, I love the Turtles."
He didn't charge you?
No,
Was he not charging anyone, or was he?
I don't think he was really like planning on signing anything.
Okay.
I just came up to him, and the thing is, maybe I'm wrong because he had a Sharpie. Like he was ready for it, I guess. So he pops out the Sharpie, and I give him the comic, and he looks at it, and he gets this look on his face of like absolute fondness, and he's like, "Oh, this one's one of my favorites." And then he signs it, and then I get it back, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
How long did you have to wait in line? Or was it
Not too
a
long,
line?
because it was just a little group of people around him at the
Was
time.
this San Diego Comic Con?
Yeah, it was the biggest convention.
What year was this?
09.
So the same year you got the book?
I just said 09 as like for getting the book was around that time, because I know that's when the store was open. So.
Wow. So would that be your personal grail that you've owned?
Yeah, I think that one was.
Why did you sell it, Matt? Why did you sell it?
Because
it was like your first day working with us.
Yeah, it's because stuff happens, and that's the thing is you grow up. Yeah, because I was still a kid. You know, I just graduated from high school, and you realize when you get older and older that things aren't as important as people. And I was in a certain situation that I needed to do something for a friend, my wife, basically. You know, we were just getting started, and we had hit we were in a pickle. I'm not going to go into so much detail. There's nothing terrible or anything like that. It's just, stuff happens. So we needed cash, and I was like, well, Raphael's going to save me now. So I sold it, and it was awesome. Like, I was able to get a good amount of money, and the guy I sold it to was like, I'm going to take super good care of it. He was very nice, and I still have that story, all of that.
It's all about the experience. Why are you making me cry? We haven't even talked about Nightwing yet. Just kidding. Nightwing almost made me cry. I'm pretty sure it makes a lot of people cry. But anyway, anything else that you may have owned in the past that is very notable in your collection?
For my birthday, my biggest brother, because I have 3 brothers. Oh no, he's not the biggest.
I'm the biggest. Okay.
No, I'm the littlest. Then it's Travis, and then it's Louie, and then it's Javi. Javi's the biggest, and so it was Louie. For my birthday, he gave me his Daredevil collection of comics.
Really?
And it was a huge collection because he used to work at Myth Adventures when there were 2 locations, and when he worked at the other one, it was just back issues, and they were super cheap. So he would just buy a whole bunch of old back issues, and he got a lot of Daredevil that way. And I got super into Daredevil, and he helped me along and trying to figure out what to read and all that. So eventually he just gave me his collection as a birthday gift, and in there was the first appearance of Elektra. And that was awesome. And I sold it. Same thing.
But you're trying to get it back.
I'm trying to get
another one for yourself.
Trying to get another one for myself, but it's just what happens. And I already told my brother about it, and he was like, "Dude, don't worry about it," because he could tell I was like, "I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, Graham.
I'm sorry, Graham, I'm sorry." But no, he was just what do you call it? He completely understood, because that time it was me doing the paperwork, because my wife is she's a resident, and we're pushing paperwork through for her to be a full resident without any conditions, because she's a conditional resident. So in order to do that, the paperwork and the fee for the biometrics and all this other stuff, it's like $700. And it's really hard to put money aside when my cat busted his paw, so I had to take him to the vet. My wife busted her foot, so I had to take her to the vet. No, I took her to the doctor. And Christmas time also, had to get gifts for everybody. It was just so much on my plate that I was like, okay, well,
it's the holidays. It happens.
It's
I mean,
like that every year.
A lot of people were trading stuff into the store. It happens. I mean, you ever seen the Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas?
Oh, the one that's Gift of the Magi.
Yeah, he trades in
his
harmonica to get her the little jewelry to match her other jewelry, and she trades in her jewelry to get him the harmonica case, and then they exchange it, and he's just like. And they're just like, I traded my harmonica to get you those earrings. And she's like, well, I traded my necklace to get you that case. So sad.
If that happened to me, I would have been just like, well, I guess we should just go get our stuff back. It's like, this sucks. We have stuff that's totally incomplete. It's like having the box of a PlayStation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She got me the case. I don't have a PlayStation.
It wasn't about It wasn't about the.
Yeah, I know. It was the thought that like
Listen,
they gave
Matt.
away.
Just kidding.
They gave away their most prized possession.
To get someone. Okay, well, yeah, it happens. It happens during the holidays.
Yeah, most of us have been collecting comics, have had to go through things like that and start over. We feel your pain.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Saul, and I appreciate that, Megan. A virtual hug, especially that it's awkward. That helps.
It could have just not been awkward, but it
Like-
makes it better that it's awkward because it makes it more genuine.
That's my awkward.
That's how a
virtual
robot hugs.
Yeah.
No, but trying to process emotion. Any other books you may have had that are...
The only other one was also something I'm working on, like getting back, is what's it called? My Daredevil 181, which was signed by Frank Miller. That was awesome.
And I still remember it was traded into the store.
Yeah.
And once Matt saw it... So this is what happened. Gentleman came, traded in a whole bunch of stuff. I wasn't the one that purchased it. Roy bought it, already had a set price. Gave it to him. This guy's a regular. He trades in stuff every once in a while. What's it called? So we were there. We had traded in 2 Deaths of Elektra, and I want to say it was the cleaner copy. And we were like, oh,
Yeah.
like I think we were like, man, this copy is really clean. Like
It's super
like
pristine.
let's take a look at it. And then I opened up the first page, or was it you that opened it up?
I did because.
And then you were like, wait a minute.
Check on the stuff, make sure it's good.
Yeah.
You left, and I started looking at it, and that's when I was like, "There's a certificate in the back of this. It says it's signed by Frank Miller." Whatever.
Yeah.
So I open it, and I open it really delicately. The comic. There's a signature on the bottom of the first
And it's
page.
not even like the way he does his signatures now, where it's just like a scribble.
Or
like a-
FM.
Yeah, and it was like an actual like
Full blown.
yeah, like he was proud to be working with Marvel, and what's it called? I remember he told me, and I was like, what? And back in the day, they wouldn't when they would do autographs on books, they wouldn't do them on the cover because they didn't want to interfere with the cover art.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
they
they do it on the face, they do it on the
Yeah.
but they would
just
do it
get
on
a Sharpie and cover the whole thing.
yeah. So now they do it in the first page in the bottom, underneath all the important information, issue number, blah blah blah, and what's it called? It was crazy. We were like, what the heck? Like, not only is it in pristine condition,
Yeah, that
but
thing
it's
is
signed.
definitely a 9.0 and above. It's somewhere up there.
Yeah,
man.
probably like a 9 point. So I told Roy, and I was like, Roy, did you know this book was signed by Frank Miller? And he's just like, shut up. And he's like, really? He's like, I honestly didn't even look through them. And I was like, what? Like, this book could have been missing like 3 pages, and like Roy wouldn't even have known. But I mean, it happens, it was a busy day. But what's it called? Yeah, it was such a good book. And sorry, I'll let you finish your story.
No, it was
Let me
just-
finish telling Matt's story about it.
Well, you were there, so you're just chiming in. It's cool. So yeah, like, I begged Isaac, I want this comic, and he was like, okay. Like, we worked on what the actual price of it was, and I paid it. I did like the awesome Kaboom layaway, which we offer and everything.
Oriana, I remember coming in and being like, Matt and I got beef.
It's true, because she wanted it too, and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I got here first. Literally, I was at work. So yeah,
You
but
snooze, you lose.
but it was good, and it was a beautiful copy. So yeah, I think those are like my main ones. I have a Last Ronin #1. If I ever meet Kevin Eastman again, I'd like to get that signed. It's a first print and everything, so I have that, and I have that Catwoman 74.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Adam Hughes one?
the one with one of the really famous Catwoman covers. That one we sent to get graded, so
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Can't wait to see what that's going to come back as, because it was in really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much like my
So would you
my
say,
stuff.
I guess every time we talk about these books, we should just finally let the people know your favorite characters. I think it's clear to say that your favorite hero would be Daredevil.
Yes.
And your
Daredevil.
favorite villain
My favorite villain.
in all comic history.
Whole comic? That's hard, because the thing is, like, with a hero, it's easier to pick a hero for me, because there's a lot less of them, because every hero has like 40 villains.
Yeah.
So yeah, like,
I mean, maybe top 3, top 5, however you want to do it.
I
I guess, is it easier to do top 5?
I guess it would.
And not in any particular order, unless you could do it in an order. You don't have to. I can do a top 5, I guess.
All right. Well, for sure, like my top favorite hero is Daredevil, and then I think after that it'd be in no particular order. After that, like Batman, Catwoman, Black Widow, and a fifth. Trying to be fair.
Should put Roz.
It's Raish. That's how Dennis O'Neil, the creator, says it. Anywho, for the fifth, probably like Spider-Man.
You just threw him in there. You're like, I
No,
guess.
it's because when I grew up,
They throw
I
in the
read
depressed kid.
No, I when I grew up, I was reading Spider-Man. He was my favorite as a kid, and I think that's like common. Kids grow up loving Spider-Man. Some people keep that love, and that's awesome. Or some people, they read enough of it that they feel like they can go to someone else. That's what it felt like with Spider-Man. Except now that I'm even I'm older, I was super into Spider-Man. Read enough that I was like, okay, let's see what else that there is. Like I got older. And then I got even older than that, and now I'm like, I want more Spider-Man. So yeah, I'd probably say like that's my top 5 is and then Nightwing, because I love Dick Grayson, and I love like the Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. That was the other one that I couldn't get off the top of my head, but yeah, that's my top 6.
Do you have villains? List of villains, I guess.
Yeah, Bullseye. It's definitely there. Like. When it comes to villains, I tend to gravitate more towards true villains. Villains that are unsympathetic, that are there to fully test the hero and everything. And that's what Bullseye is. There's nothing about him that's redeemable or generally likable. He's just bad. He's evil. And that's what makes him such a compelling villain. So, him and the Kingpin are there, like in the top. And I love the Green Goblin. And it's hard to pick a favorite Batman villain because I feel like everybody goes straight to Joker. And, Joker is a great villain. But, I don't know, I really like Raish. Because I feel like...
Say the full name so they know who you're
Raish
talking
Al Ghul. I'm sorry, because everyone says Roz.
Like, did he say Rake?
No,
which one's that?
Even Christian Bale said Roz.
It's not the Eraser guy? No, I'm kidding.
Oh man, greatest villain of all time.
We'll tell you guys about it tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll post it on our feed.
We should have brought it.
I know, a new first appearance of a villain that came out like in the 60s in one of the Batman issues, and I think his name is Eraser, right?
He's here to rub out Batman. Literally, he disappears. That's what the cover makes it look like. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But yeah, those would be, I guess, Bullseye, Kingpin, Green Goblin, Kite Man.
He comes out in the Harley Quinn cartoon. He's so funny. Like, there's like a scene where like nobody takes him serious, and he's just like, "All right, Kite Man to the rescue!" And then he like does the little kite, and then he just flies away. And he's like, "Ah!" He like kicks it out
because he's like, beholden to the wind.
Oriana says, "So not Stilts Man."
Love me some Stilt Man. Not my favorite.
Not the what's his name, Purple Man or whatever he is.
Yeah, Kilgrave. He's a great villain, but I probably have to think a lot about everyone else that fits into there, because villains are very cool. They're very interesting.
It's always about the backstory.
Yeah, sometimes I don't obviously the way I'm making it sound, it's like I like the bad guys with no sympathy. I still like the others. Like, for example, Doctor Doom is a fantastic villain.
Yeah.
He's extremely compelling as a character because there's a degree of sympathy that you can understand his scarring and then his feeling of inadequacy compared to Reed, who has the life. He has a beautiful wife, he has kids, he has a family, he has wealthy,
the thing. No,
he has the thing.
Ben Grimm, his bodyguard.
Yeah, man. And then what does Doom got? He's got a country. He just not really too it's not his thing. It's like he has it because of his name and everything. So
Tristan says, imagine if there was a superhero team that consists of Peter Parker, Nightwing, Wally West Flash, and Superboy, and John Kent age 12. Gore the God Butcher. definitely a great villain. Like, I hope they do him well in the Thor movie.
It's Christian Bale, right?
Yeah,
But
obviously he's gonna be in he's gonna somehow go through the method acting of forming his body into a creature.
He literally just shoots himself into space. He's like, I want to become one with dark matter so I can become God.
He's like, where can I find an actual necro sword? Is my question. I need to attach myself.
The thing is, I feel like with Christian Bale, I feel like they got someone overqualified for the job.
No, I mean,
because,
I think
like if you watch, like sorry to cut you off.
It's okay. I cut you off.
No, don't worry about it. But what's it called? If you watched Ragnarok, nobody in there has a performance that's like, damn, that shook me. You know what I mean? The only person who has like a performance that reaches you on an emotional level is the brief time that Anthony Hopkins is there as Odin. Because everything else is just goofs and gags and all that stuff.
And it like lingers all the way to the end. Where he's just like, what are you? God of hammers? He's like, I made you a door. Whatever, because he can't pick up his hammer or whatever. His hammer's broken.
Yeah, so like Christian Bale being brought in to be the villain, it's like Kate Blanchett was just there to be snarky.
I think Kate Blanchett is not overqualified, but she's up there as far as top tier actresses and actors out there.
Like, the thing is, you didn't need Kate Blanchett to do that job. I think most actresses could have done that. And I think when you go with Christian Bale, the guy who's like, oh, you need me to be a human skeleton?
Maybe they're gonna have him have that accent that he has. Is it Australian?
No, he's British.
He's British?
Yeah.
He has such a weird accent.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off as British. Like, comes out, I don't know how to explain it. But he's
it's
just
probably
like,
more like Cockney or something. I'm
not
sure.
From some part of the UK. But
yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like the Ragnarok and then this new one, Love and Thunder.
That's also what I was thinking. The heart-to-heart with Loki, where he's just like, where they're having the conversation.
Oh yeah.
And he's just like, you're always gonna be a villain. He's like, and I'm always gonna be. Or that's not what he says, but basically he's telling him like, well, you're Loki, and that's just how things are. And you could see like Loki's just like kind of. It's hard to how do you say it, like connect with Loki, because you feel bad, but at the same time he's also Loki, and you feel the same way that everyone feels about Loki, like, oh man, like I'm having this connection with you, but I gotta keep in the back of my head that you are Loki, god of mischief. This could all be a fake. Yeah. And it does that in the Loki show too, and it's like, like I feel so bad for him. Maybe he's changed, but at the same time you're like questioning, well, he is Loki, so it's like, oh man. Like, and I think Tom Hiddleston has grown himself to be another, not just because of the Marvel movies, but I feel like given the right role, like he'll be a top tier actor as well. What movies has he done? He's a very good impressionist. Just kidding. Have you seen?
Yeah, I saw his Pacino was really good.
Yeah, he does one of Mark Ruffalo and everything. Mark Ruffalo's a great.
Yeah, have you ever seen
13 going on 30? Just kidding.
Foxcatcher?
No, I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. He comes out in Zodiac. He comes out in.
Yeah, Zodiac I think is Fincher's best movie.
Really?
Yeah, because it's completely devoid of his like glorification of serial killers. Because that's the weird thing, is that like you watch Seven and they treat John Doe like he's this hyper intelligent, fascinating person, and then you watch like Gone Girl and she's this like untouchable psycho super genius, and it's like he's obsessed with these crazy people, and he kind of fetishizes them.
I guess
in a way
it's
that
like
makes them desirable. And
I guess
that's not.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Interrupt you. Alien 3? No, I'm kidding.
I actually love Alien 3.
I have not seen Alien 3, but The Social Network is my favorite, so I love The Social Network. Mark, like, I love it. I have
Zark Muckerberg.
All right, so any other notable mentions you may have?
No, I think that's. We'll probably have to make an episode about favorite villains. I think because
there's so many.
And it's always easy to go to favorite heroes. But I think when you talk about a favorite villain, you end up talking about your favorite hero.
Yeah,
anyway.
for hours.
Yeah, so I think
there's a lot of information behind it for sure.
So what about you? Your stories of grails and all that.
I mean, I don't have anything.
I'm nothing.
No, I mean, all right. So as a kid growing up, this is like a personal grail. Like It's not one of those grails that it goes for like thousands of dollars, but it's just something that I had personally as a kid. Not as a kid, like when I was in high school. And I sold it when I was in college because I needed the money, obviously, for college. And so I can buy myself some food. Man Bat and Mr. Freeze. Those are also great villains. Oh, Mr. Freeze for sure. Not too sure about Man Bat. I don't know much about him.
What's going on with Megan?
Oh, she's talking about the scene in Ragnarok where they're like, let's do Get Help. And Loki's like, I don't want to do Get Help. He's like, you love Get Help. And then he's like, I'm not doing Get Help. And then it cuts to the scene where Loki's pretending to die, and what's his name? Thor's like, Get Help, my brother, he's dying. And then everyone comes, and then he just throws them at everyone like a bowling ball, and they're like pins, and they knock them all down. It's funny.
Okay.
But from eating fruits from the trees outside.
That's really smart.
Don't they have like bugs in them though? Don't they have pesticides?
You're such a inside cat.
Oh my gosh.
Don't those fruit have bugs inside?
Have you seen that picture? I think I shared it on Facebook where it's like outdoor cats, and it's like, I would defend this house with my life, and it's like the buff little doggy, the Doge, and then indoor cats is like, I can't drink milk or else I puke. It's like a little baby dog. It's so funny. But so when I was in high school, it was like in 2012, back in the days, not even that long ago. But I mean, it's kind of, it's like 10 years ago. So when I was in high school, there was this little comic shop where Kaboom is now. It used to be Sunblast, and it had just opened up. It was only there for a few years, but it had just opened up, and I was like, cool, finally a comic shop in my city. This is in Westlaco. And I went. My parents would take me. I had friends back then that would take me and stuff. And I remember going, and I didn't have much money. I didn't have a job. I was not old enough to have a job. And the what was it? Well, I mean, I was old enough to have a job, but I didn't have a car. So they had a first appearance Carnage. I remember asking the worker, and I was like, hey, like, do you guys have anything Carnage? You know, I'm a little kid. I love Venom and Carnage. And he's like, oh, yeah, we got the first appearance. He shows it to me. He's like, we have the first print and the second print. First print is white. Second print is silver. First print is, like $15 at the time. And second print is like $12 or something like that. And I was like, oh, man, like, I would want it, but I don't have that much money, sir. And then he's just like, oh, you know what? I'll sell you the second print along with the second appearance of Carnage for like $10. And I was like, I got $10. And I was like, sure. And that was like a steal. Like, I feel like even at that time, that was a steal. Like, at the time,
maybe it was cursed.
maybe they just like, maybe
get
they
off
just.
My hands.
I was just a kid, but so I had that second print. I had the second appearance, and also from that shop, I had bought. Back then, they had these things. I don't remember what Amazing Spider-Man issue it was, but as a kid, I was always so fond of the death of Gwen Stacy, and I was only fond of it because when the first Spider-Man movie came out, the Tobey Maguire one, I was in first grade. It was in 2001, and I had the DVD bonus features, all that stuff. This 2-disc DVD. The bonus features had everything you needed to know about Spider-Man. There was interviews, documentaries. There was a Kevin Smith interview with Stan Lee. There was all this stuff. They talked about the Rogues Gallery. They talked about all the notable things that happened, and they talked about all the love lives of Peter. They had Betty Brant. They had Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, and Black Cat. Yeah, Felicia Hardy. So that's how as a kid, I gained my knowledge of Spider-Man because of those bonus features.
That's cool, man.
So when they went to Gwen Stacy, they as they're talking about it, the character and all, they're talking about all the things like, oh yeah, they first met. Gwen Stacy's first appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man 50 from 19 blah blah blah, yada yada. And at the time when they really cared about DVDs, all these DVDs had bonus features. So I had Hulk, the original one with Eric Banner or whatever his name is. Same thing, bonus features. I learned about the Hulk, X-Men, all that stuff. So when I saw Spider-Man, they were like, oh yeah, and then she died, blah, blah, blah. Green Goblin threw her off the bridge, George Washington Bridge. And so I was like, man, that's so tragic, but I love it. And I don't know why, as a kid, I was so fond of basically. So they had this cover, and it was Amazing Spider-Man 690-something, 680 maybe, where each variant cover was a what is it, a decade or something honoring of Spider-Man. So like one of them was like the 60s, and it had like one color scheme. It was like purple, and it had like one scene of something that happened in the 60s, like Peter getting bit by the spider, and it was such cool art. And then they had one from the 70s and one from the 80s and one from the 2000s. The 80s had, it was like white, and then it just had Spider-Man in the black suit, because I guess that was the years that he got the black suit. The 2000s was like blue, and it was like Spider-Man in front of the Avengers, because I feel like that's when they connected the Avengers with Spider-Man. And then the 70s was the one that was all red, and it was just Peter holding Gwen's body. But it's not like detailed, like it's just like the silhouette of him holding Gwen's body, and they had it there for like $20. And I was like, that cover, I want that cover. And I got it, and I was like, yes, this is the closest thing to the death of Gwen Stacy I would ever have. And
she's dead, and I have it.
And I thought it was a beautiful cover. Like, he's just holding her body, and it's so beautiful. And as I grew up, I sold them. And that cover goes for like $200 on eBay. I saw like maybe like 100 and some.
Man.
And I'm so sad because I didn't sell it for that much. No, but
I had like a big collection of Spider-Man comics from when I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
That are now expensive. Like, I was getting it monthly, and I stopped reading it when One More Day happened because I was so upset.
We should talk about One More Day someday.
That should be another thing. That should be another episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when that happened, I got rid of, like, I was done, and I was all bitter, and I was like, no more Spider-Man comics. They just tossing the table.
If I can't be happy, no one will.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. So I got upset, and like I gave away a lot of my comics to a friend because I was so angry and bitter. And I'm just like that. It's a very bitter person sometimes. So I make rash, impulsive decisions based off that bitterness, and it's not always good. So, because a lot of those comics are worth a lot now. Like,
I hope to change you. Just kidding. No, but what's it called? So I had those books, I sold them, and working at a comic shop, I always tell myself. And so throughout the years, you know, I got back into collecting. I was in college, I wasn't collecting, and then after college is when I started like wanting to get back into it. And I've come across, you know, books here and there, and I always sell them. So I've had a couple, maybe just two, first appearances of Carnage, but they were the first prints. And they were the white ones. I had one that was graded at a 9.0, not that high, but it was a 9.0. And to me, I didn't mind selling them because I didn't have a personal connection with the first print. Even though it goes for more than the second print, I've always just wanted that second print because it's the one that I connected to as a kid. And that same, so I also had first appearance of, the death of Gwen Stacy. I've had a death of Gwen Stacy. I ended up selling it to the store. I did have, you know, a little connection because I've always been so fond of that story, and I had the death of Gwen, and I had the second part of it, and I feel like it was in great shape. It was maybe like an 8.0, and I wanted to send it to get graded, but then I was like, no, I need money, you know, here and that, I need money as well. I sold it to Kaboom. The store ended up selling it, and in my head, I feel like if I had to choose, if a guy came and he's like, hey, I got 2 copies, get one for free, the death of Gwen or that red cover where it's a silhouette of the death of Gwen. Death of Gwen goes for like $500. This one's going for around 100 to 200. I would always choose the red cover because I just have this connection to that cover. So weird. Like, I don't know. It's not so much the value of it that I love about it. Like, it's just, I don't know. Since I had it in high school as a kid, it was just something. I remember having my comics on the wall, and like I always had that one on my wall as well. I would use the thumbtacks on the little boards, not on the book, on the boards, and that's how I had them on my wall.
I always just got a big nail right in the middle of it.
Oh my god. What's going on in Matt's room?
It's like railroad spikes.
But nowadays, I mean, I did have the...
What? I remember when you were pissed at the first Spider-Man movie. You ranted for so long, I just sat and tried to be supportive, though. I knew very little about anything Spider-Man, just nodding and smiling, being like, they did not.
You
I don't remember being upset about the Spider-Man movie. Was it... That sounds like something I would do, but not about Spider-Man.
But not about Willem. Just kidding.
Like, maybe the Amazing Spider-Man movie? Maybe it was that one. You know, that's probably what... It's probably that one, because I do remember yelling about that one. It's like, why is he cool? Why is he on a skateboard? He's supposed to be a loser.
It's funny. Well, as I grew up... Just kidding. I did have the first appearance of Scarlet Witch. I guess that might be the most expensive book I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy it for what it was worth. It was. I literally bought that book right before WandaVision came out, and I was like, you know what, this book's gonna jump up. It has to. And I bought it for $600, still a lot of money, $600. And now it's going for like $2,000 because of WandaVision. And I was like, you know what, that WandaVision show, I did like it. I love the whole subject of grief and all that stuff, you know, because I feel like Scarlet Witch, I never cared about Scarlet Witch and Vision. Like, I never cared about these characters in the movie. Like, I feel like they just, like, had them in there and they're just like, like in the Endgame, when she tells Thanos, like, you took everything from me. I don't even know who you are. I didn't even care about that scene. I was like, yeah, he did, but let's move on. Like, I didn't care. And then watching WandaVision, they obviously, it's their show, so they had to kind of elaborate on the emotions that she's going through, and as well as Vision and everything that went through between their relationship. And it's really sad. So I was like, you know what, this is a cool comic, I should keep it. But like always, Isaac needs money. So
Isaac needs money.
So I did sell it, and you know, of course, I did make my profit because I didn't buy it for what it was going for. But I didn't buy it for the profit. I mean, I guess at the time I did. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep it, though, because this show's super good. She, you know, all that stuff. But I would want to get it back. And then one that I currently have, and it doesn't really go for a lot, is the Amazing Fantasy 14, which I've mentioned before. And it's the issue that's right before Spider-Man's first appearance. And it was when Amazing Fantasy. What?
She's just my cousin. The way she talks about things, it's like she's willfully ignorant of the things happening. Like, she knows the names, but she's like
doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it's
large
like,
purple man kill him by taking his head rock.
His head rock. I love that. So you know he's Thanos. Everybody knows. Head rock.
No, but it's okay. The Amazing Fantasy 14. It's right before Spider-Man's first appearance. So, little fun fact: before it was Amazing Fantasy, they called it Amazing Adult Fantasy. I don't know why it had the word adult in it. There was nothing adult about it in the book. They were just like these science fiction stories, you know, like monster from the grave, and it's like
maybe it was just it was the 1960s, so they were probably like, okay, we want to make sure that
they had the comic code and everything, so it wasn't like there wasn't blood or anything.
You couldn't, like, what's it called? You know the movie Psycho?
Mm-hmm.
It was the first movie to show a toilet flush because that was so taboo. They showed toilet bowl and they showed the water going down the drain, and that's like, no way, it's wrong. So like, that's how bad it was back then about, like, you know, censorship and all that stuff.
I mean, that's probably why. And the funny thing, so Amazing Fantasy 14, there's no first appearances in it. It's just it's a book about giants, and this man that has like the same basic powers of hey Isaac, was it you that sold me your wife's X-Men 218 in Westlaco? Oh yeah. Oh, that was you, Saul. Yeah. My girlfriend, future wife, someday. Someday.
She also sold something.
You know, I might just propose right here. No, I'm kidding. If she's watching,
hope she doesn't go MJ and throw herself off.
Oh my god,
the animated too.
That sounds sketchy. What? I did it without her permission. No, of course I got her permission. But yeah, that was me. Nice to see you, Saul. Now he's our pool member and everything, and I never knew that was him. He was in Westlaco a long time ago. Not a long time ago, like months ago.
Oh, there's Dalia. Now you can propose to her.
It's an insider. We always talk about marriage, and I'm like, oh, speaking of, and I pretend to propose on the spot. It's a joke. Like, we'll be like with my family, like at a table. You know, marriage will be brought up, and I'll be like, oh, speaking of that, and then I would just like get on my knee. But it's a joke. It's a joke. I'm not, you know, not literally gonna propose in the. We'll be like at a Walmart or something.
Me like chicken for gum under this table.
Like, we'll be at a Walmart and you know, the subject will come up and I'll be like, oh, speaking of, and then I'll get on my knees You know, I'm not literally gonna propose in a Walmart. That's
It's
the
so
joke
romantic
of it.
in front of all the people in
It's
their.
it's the joke.
like
Like I
pajamas
pretend like
and-
it's so surprised. Like, oh, well, now that we're on that note, I have a surprise for you, and it's funny. I think it's funny.
That is funny.
Nose, so romantic. Thank you so much. I thought of what you were talking about earlier, and that issue was that for me. Wow, it was the I think it was the issue he's talking about was the X-Men. What is it? Holocaust or something? X-Men Holocaust.
Well, it sounds sad, but that's happened a lot.
Yeah,
to
never mind.
mutants. So like,
You're like, oh, these mutants, they just keep killing them all.
yeah, there was also like No More Mutants, that whole thing that had happened, where they reduced the number of mutants to like 123.
Maybe that'll happen again, except there'll be more mutants. Nah, I don't know.
More mutants.
Oh, anyway, touching back to the Amazing Fantasy. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that the one that I have was supposedly the prototype for Professor X, I guess. That was like the idea, and then later they're like, "Hey, remember that character we did in Amazing Adult Fantasy number 14? How about we make him bald and and on a wheelchair, and he owns a school, and he has kids with the same abilities but different abilities, but also abilities, and we call them mutants." And then that was how it started. But Tristan, he's like, "Hurry up! When are we talking about that Timeless and Nightwing?" We're almost there, Tristan. I promise I'll rush my conversation. But anyway, so Amazing Fantasy 14 leads into Amazing Fantasy 15, and what's it called? They decided they were gonna end it. They're like, "Hey, Amazing Fantasy isn't doing so well." Stan Lee was like, "You know what? Let's just cut it. This last issue, take out the adult. You know, it's our last issue. Just make it Amazing Fantasy." And then that's when Stan Lee and all the writers and Steve Ditko were like, "Oh, let's do some random character, Spider-Man. That sounds weird. Like, let's just throw him in there. We're gonna end this series anyway. Might as well end it with Spider-Man." They did Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy 15, and it just became the biggest hit ever. And they're like, "Well, what do we do now? We already ended the series, and he's the biggest character." And they're like, "Well, let's just start with Amazing Spider-Man number 1 and give him his own series." So Amazing Spider-Man 1 is his second appearance, and then so on and so forth. So because there's so much story to it, the Amazing Fantasy 14 that I have, it's one of my personal grails. I got it graded. It's a 2.0 or 2.5, and it's low grade for sure, but I still love it. What is the rarest expensive comic that has gone by the shop? The Journey into Mystery Story was crazy. Well, that guy that came in the other day,
Yeah.
and I was like yelling, and Leah was there, and she heard me yelling, and I was like, "What?" So there's this gentleman, and I'm in the past, like before I worked here, they've had Avengers 1, they've had a Fantastic Four 1 that was like in super beat up shape, looked like it survived the fire, and it was signed by Jack Kirby though. And Ramsey has told me about that one. Giant Size X-Men was here when I was here. The person that bought your Raphael number 1 was the one that traded it in. Giant Size X-Men 1, which we got it graded, and it was like a 6.5 or a 5.5, which is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
We've had a bunch of stuff. Avengers 1s have come in before. What's it called? But while I was working, this guy came, and he's traded in stuff before, and he came back a second time to trade in more stuff. And he's like, "Hey," I want to show you something though. And he had a shoebox, and I was like, "All right, well, let's see what this is." And he opens up the shoebox, and it was Amazing Spider-Man 3, which is the first appearance of Dr. Octopus. And touching back on my favorite villains, Dr. Octopus is one of my favorite villains. And I like yelled, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Is this what?" And I was speechless. And then he took it out, and he also had Amazing Spider-Man 4, which is the first appearance of Sandman, and the Amazing Spider-Man 9, which is the first appearance of Electro. And this was before, like, literally like 3 weeks, maybe a month before the new movie came out. So I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Dude, are you going to sell this to the store?" And he didn't want to. He's like, no, I just want to show them to you. And I was like, "Are you sure?"
He's like, "Why would you do that?"
And I was like, "Why?" I literally told him, "Why would you show this to me when I can't have it?" And I was like, "Why?" I was like, "What do you want? We got the first Scarlet Witch. What do you want?" And I was literally offering this guy the keys to the store. Just kidding, no. Ramsey, if you're watching, I'm joking. But I was like, these books, they're I think they're big keys. I mean, right now the first, and that's because the Doc Ock was like in decent shape. He's like, here, you want to hold it? And I was like, no, like I don't want to because it's so like
Delicate.
old. You know, the Amazing Spider-Man 3, like that's single digit. I mean, they were all single digit, and he's like, yeah, hold it. And then so I was shaking, like I'm not even exaggerating, but I was shaking, and I was like, oh my god, and I was like, I'm sorry, like I don't want to rip this. And he's like, no, don't. He just takes it out of the bag and he like flips through it. And he's like, look, it has the pinup, it has all the stuff he was showing me, and I was like, oh man, like this is awesome. And then he the Amazing Spider-Man 4, which is the first Sandman, and the Amazing Spider-Man 9, which is the first Electro, were like in super great shape. And I was freaking out because I was like, they looked like reprints, but they weren't. And he showed it to me. He's like, yeah, he's like, I think the Electro is like an 8.0. And I was like, it probably is an 8.0, which is really high for something like that. Yeah. Like, and I was like, oh man, I was like, are you sure you don't want to sell it? Like, he said that he's had plenty of offers before and he just wants to hold on to them. I mean, I don't blame him, but me personally, while I was working in the store, that was like something I never thought I would see it in person. I mean, if I do see it in person, I would think that I would go to a shop, you know, in Las Vegas or something, you know, Torpedo Comics, and it would be there graded or something. But I mean, this guy just had it in a shoebox, and I was like, oh my god, like I want it. And then I told Ramsey, and Ramsey was like, tell him I'll buy it. And the guy was like, no, like I don't want to sell it. And Ramsey was like, are you sure? You know, because I mean, it's a big key. I thought it was a big key.
Slash his tires.
You can't leave.
You won't leave.
Lock the doors. No, but I think that was one of the big comics. Walking in. But I know Roy is when he was working here. A lot of guys would come in with Avengers 1 through like whatever. Avengers, Fantastic Four, early Fantastic Four. The first appearance of Galactus has already become a really big key now. And it's like, what, 48, 49 or something. I thought the first Black Panther was a pretty big key. I think that's about it. We've had big keys, but I think the Amazing Spider-Man 3, I've been trying to buy one, and I can only find one on eBay that is detached for like $4,000, and I'm not gonna spend $4,000 for a detached book. So, bunch of times I kept asking to see Dracula #1 before I made the plunge. Oh, did you buy a Dracula #1? Tomb of Dracula #1 here? Or are you talking about the first Blade? First Blade was also pretty cool when we had it. That's also one of my top 5 favorite heroes, Blade. Just because of Wesley Snipes when I first saw the movie. I had the VHS, and I love his lack of paying taxes. No, I'm kidding. No, but
he's a role model for us all.
No, but I mean, that was the only reason. I remember watching Amazing Spider-Man, the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, and they featured Blade.
Blade was?
But he was also like very light-skinned, and I was like, that's not how he looks. Like, why is he so light? Like,
I don't know, it was weird.
That was such a weird thing, and I was uncomfortable with that. But
me too.
But I still love Blade. It was the whole him like trying to get Morbius and all that stuff. But yeah, favorite heroes: Spider-Man, Captain America. I'm starting to be more fond of Daredevil.
Hail Daredevil.
I love Daredevil since the Ben Affleck movie. No, I'm kidding.
Ben Affleck's the one to put me on it, you know.
What other characters are there? I'm starting to get into Nightwing just because of his mental disorder. I love it. I love the mentally unstable.
Nightwing?
Nightwing, Moon Knight.
I was like, Nightwing's perfectly healthy. Which reminds me, it's been the first hour. We've discussed all our comics and all that stuff. Second hour, let's get into it, right?
All right, so Timeless. What did you think, Matt?
I liked it a lot. I was very surprised. I thought, I'm never super on board when Marvel does like events and stuff like that, or DC. Anybody does events because they generally, they feel rushed to me and stuff like right now. I'm not too into Devil's Reign. I'm reading it because Daredevil's not. It's like canceled now, and this is basically Daredevil. You know what I mean? And so we'll see. Are you liking Daredevil since Zdarsky?
It's more because of the TV show, as you can see.
The TV show got a lot of people into it.
Yeah, and it's. I've been interested in the whole. What was it?
No problem, Gabriel.
Daredevil having the whole Catholicism in his, it's not always that they add religion into these characters, and I know Catholicism is a huge, like 80% of the religion, I guess, or some form of it. Not that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm Catholic, like, 'cause I'm not, but it's just interesting that they tie in, someone who's so tied to their religion, and also someone that beats up people, and he has to like repent. Like it's such a, it's like if Batman was like a Christian, and he's like, oh man, like I grew up Christian, but these people killed my family, so I gotta beat them up, and it goes against what I believe, and it's one of those things that it's very interesting.
What's it called? That's one of the things that's like very interesting about Daredevil is that he's kind of like a series of contradictions. He's a Catholic that dresses up as the devil.
Basically.
He is a lawyer that breaks the law at night.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything about him it's a representation of the battle going on inside of his soul. You know what I mean? That this is a good man with good intentions, but he lives in a bad place, and he could have grown up to be a villain. You know what I mean? Because of how rough his upbringing was.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you read like a lot of the Miller Daredevil stuff, where they go into him and his relationship with his father. They show a lot of the flaws in it and everything, and it was fertile ground for him to become unstable and villainous, but he didn't, and that's what makes him so strong and compelling as a character, is that he's like dancing that line, but he always stays on that line. He never falls one way or the other. So timeless.
All right.
Because we're talking about Daredevil.
But yeah, Tristan's right. He says King shows the future of the Marvel Universe. I mean, I like that they're starting to introduce King a bit more, obviously, because he's going to be in the MCU and kind of was already tied in with the Loki TV show. So, of course, Marvel Comics is going to be like, well, people are already on that Kang craze. Let's throw him
Rays.
more. Yeah, they have his new series, Kang the Conqueror. So, and then, of course, this just kind of shows, him being from the future and from the past. He's a very interesting character. King, I think, is a very interesting character.
When I read this and it was over, I was like, I wish this was a series.
Yeah, me too.
The idea of... Because it centers not really on King, but on this, like... What would you call him? Like, he's a doctor, and he's writing, like, a paper or a study on supervillains.
The greatest villains and stuff.
And he's writing it because he's writing their effect on society and everything. So it's like a sociological or anthropological sort of discussion. You know what I mean? So Kang shows up out of nowhere in this guy's office, and he quotes from his book, the book he's still writing and is not published.
Yeah, because he's
like,
from
how
the
do you
future.
know that? He's like, how do you know that? He's like, because your book is published in the future, and it's really, like, people really love it and stuff. But you claim that the one who hangs the greatest shadow of all of the villains and stuff is Doctor Doom, and I'm here to show you why you're wrong.
And King has always had beef with Doctor Doom.
Yeah, so...
It's just been one of those things.
It was just a story of this ordinary man who was intelligent and observant being brought onto this, like, crazy not interdimensional, but like through time, going like he goes to prehistory where Kang is like fighting a mammoth, and then he goes and like what's it called, goes to a whole pocket reality that's like outside of time and all this stuff, and he's just an ordinary guy, and that's what makes it so interesting, is that he's just this old guy with a mustache, and like he's got a bald spot and stuff. He's very relatable. So I feel like, man, if this was a series by itself, just this old guy going on adventures with Kang and him writing about it, it's like, and that's when I saw him with his spear mounting to something and this and that. I was like, God, this is freaking awesome. So yeah, like it's a framing device for exploring what's going to be happening in Marvel.
Yeah, because there's been a bunch of stuff that has already been announced, like the Punisher's new look. That's in there. There's a segment where they're looking at monitors and stuff. Kang is looking at the monitors and right here. And they show the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. They also show Dormammu's son, who's from Strange Academy, kind of taking. Hopefully you guys can see it. I don't see it because of the delay yet. There's Ben Reilly Spider-Man. There's what else? There's a female Spider-Man too, with red hair. Everyone's wondering who that could be.
Peter bit MJ.
And then there's a new female Black Panther, and everyone's speculating that it's either going to be Storm or Storm's kid, which would be a daughter. Storm and T'Challa are a couple. So there's also one with the moon being exploded. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like Winter Soldier dealing like a blow to Cap.
Probably, yeah, right here. It says there, while an old icon falls. So he's like narrating all these things to reclaim a stolen name. A new god takes their throne. And it's like, it's super interesting. There's the Thanos one too, which is a pretty interesting, which has been tied in with Donny Cates's Thor run. Thor had this little like vision where Thanos has the Mjolnir, and it's like has the Infinity Gems on him, or Infinity Stones, and then he has this like black gauntlet, and it literally never tied into anything. Like, it was just like a vision, and then Donny Cates just put it on hold, and then they brought it back recently in one of the previous issues, where Thor just mentions it, like, oh, I had a vision, the Thanos, whatever, and that was it. So like Donny Cates just keeps teasing it. It was like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be important someday, and they tease it again in this book, like that same scene. So like we're still trying to figure out like, well, what's gonna happen, because it's pretty crazy, and so basically it's just giving you a hint, a tease of what's to come in Marvel Comics. But at the same time, Kang is also gonna be in the MCU, so who knows if this can also tie into future Marvel projects as well.
Piccolo already destroyed the moon. That happened in Dragon Ball because Goku and the Saiyans turn into giant apes when there's a full moon. So he was like, well, fine, I'll just blow it up. Now they can't transform. It's ridiculous.
You're talking about the Dragon Ball live action movie? No,
I'm kidding. Definitely.
No, I'm joking.
And to answer that question, did one of the Bat Kids die? Like another Bat Kid accidentally killed them?
I think that happened in Injustice, those comics or something.
Yeah.
Where Damian Wayne was like super angry, and he like threw like a billy club or something like that at Dick Grayson, and he didn't mean to throw it so hard, and he hit him right in the temple.
Yeah.
And it like just knocked his lights out. So I was like, okay.
That double page spread shows so many interesting things, like Ben going to Hollywood, Doyle killing his dad. Doyle is Dormammu's son. Doyle Dormammu. What a funny name, right? New Young Avengers, Evil Avengers, Female Spider-Man, Black Panther, something with Ravencroft. Yeah, so there's like a lot of things that are gonna happen, and it's a one shot, so it's just one story. There's no more to it.
That's why I wish it was like just about that old guy and hanging out with Kang.
Yeah, the adventures. Studio Ghibli. And basically, it leads into Kang meeting up with who we think is Doctor Doom, and it turns out to be.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler alert. If you guys don't want to know what happens at the end of this book.
So from the beginning, it's framed that you think he's going to go up against Doom. Because from the beginning he's like, I'll show you I'm better than Doom. Doom sucks. I'm awesome. So he shows him all this crazy stuff he can do. And then eventually he's like, there's only one person who could have done this whole thing, because it's really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because they talk about how the timeline diverges and splits and stuff.
And they do that they're doing it in Loki. Like, that's why it's tied into the MCU, because they have all those multiversal things. And also in Spider-Man, not so much of a spoiler, the multiverse expands. WandaVision, she's able to break through the multiverse as well, and then obviously it's just everything's tying in together in the pop culture cinematic universe, and as well as in the comic books.
Yeah, so what's it called? They explain it that one of these timelines was like kind of like, what do you call that when you're like trimming your plants? the branches are kind of growing out. And is it pluming?
I'm not too sure, but I'm gonna say
I think
yes.
it's pruning, and that's when like you get overgrowths and you make sure it's nice and pristine and stuff. That there was someone who sliced off this one branching off timeline, cut it off, and that the people and everything within that timeline, that cut off timeline, continued to live, and that it was supposed to be withered away, but it didn't.
Pruning.
Yeah, pruning. And that it somehow managed to stay alive and make its way back to the original main timeline. And they could tell that it was going that way so that it could mend back to the timeline, but that was causing huge problems. Timequakes, as they say it. So the king was like, well, if that happens, it's going to destroy everything. So I have to go in there and destroy them. And he says, and I think the only person powerful enough to have done all this would be Doctor Doom. So now you're going to get to see how I'm better than Doctor Doom.
So before...
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. So before he goes with the Doomster, they also like to note, you know, Kang as a character, how he was how he's been a conqueror. He's been a pharaoh. He's also been somewhat of a hero. So he's like a descendant, because Kang being from the future and having all this extra advanced technology, he's able to time travel and, you know, conquer all these different, I guess, what would you call them? Universes, I guess, worlds or something. And that's why he's such an interesting character, you know, Kang the Conqueror. And he goes, there's like, so if you were to look in the original, you know, Marvel text, and find out Kang's first appearance is, Kang the Conqueror's first appearance is in the Avengers 8, which is early Avengers, and that's the first appearance. But then you look back, and he also was featured in Fantastic Four, but not as Kang the Conqueror, but as Rama Tut, who is this pharaoh. And basically that was Kang, you know, going back and wanting to be a pharaoh. And then there's also, Iron Lad from the New Avengers, who's basically just this kid.
Young Avengers.
The New Avengers, yeah. Wait,
Young Avengers.
Young Avengers. What did I say?
New Avengers. You said it twice.
Okay, Young Avengers. Sorry, yeah. Young Avengers, and Iron Lad, and he's also there's also one random Fantastic Four issue where he's a descendant of Reed Richards, and it's like his, I don't know, one of them is like the great something, and but he's also tied into Kang somehow, and it's like, you know, and there's also one really controversial one where he falls, this variant, I guess, of Kang falls in love with Miss Marvel, and then they have a baby, and then the baby that she births is another variant of Kang, and it's like he basically goes back in time to create himself, and it's a very controversial issue, and it's Avengers 200. If you guys want to look into it, it's controversial, but it's just like it's the whole timeline thing. Just like the Infinity Stones, they've always been tied into these Marvel stories, but never really been like, you know, focused on as a whole. And then, of course, you know, as the Infinity Saga was going on in the movies, that's when they started coming out with that Infinity issue, you know, and then like 10 years later they came out with the Infinity, you know, Infinity War, whatever the heck it is. And, you know, and then they had, of course, the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And it's just like all these things, and now time seems to be the main thing. It was hinted at in Endgame as they were time traveling, and then of course now it's the main focus. So what other person to bring in as the center of it all than Kang the Conqueror? Alright, so now we can continue with him meeting Doom.
Yeah, so he meets Doom, and he's there to confront him, and it's revealed that it's not actually Doom, because he looks like Doom. He's got the armor, the helmet, the hood and everything, and then he takes off his mask, and you realize it's actually Reed Richards, and that the Reed Richards, the Mr. Fantastic of this reality, basically tried to save it. He's tried so hard to save it that he committed atrocities to get there, and that he's basically a villain at this point and the only living thing left on this fractured timeline. So it's pretty dark. And he ends up going toe-to-toe with Kang, and Kang actually kind of loses. Like, he loses this battle, and he tries to do this thing where he talks to him in a way that he depowers, where Kang gets Mr. Fantastic to depower in conversation, because he's like, They made, like, people told us that maybe we were related and stuff. I can see that now because you're so terrible and all this stuff. You're so horrible and evil and everything. You were always going to be a conqueror and everything. So he gets him mad and he's like, you know what? I'm going to kill you not as a god, but as a man. And at that opportunity, when he depowers, the old man that's helping Kang ends up spearing him from the back and saves Kang and ends up saving, like, the timeline and everything. And strange because he literally kills Doctor Doom, the guy he was writing his whole, like, dissertation on kind of thing. So it's this whole really trippy kind of strange confrontation. And yeah, that's how it kind of wraps up. He brings the old man back to his it was supposed to be like a moment after they left in the first place, and told him, just don't write about Doctor Doom. And he's like, okay. And he starts pondering about everything he saw and everything. But in essence, it's a story that's like a launch pad for the year to show what's going to be happening with Marvel. But it's also, for me, it's not the things about the future of Marvel weren't the most interesting things. It was just, I loved how they wrote Kang. I loved this dynamic with him and this old man. And I just loved how they framed him so well as a character. They made him unapologetically powerful, and he made strong what do you call it, points about morality is not real and all this stuff. You've lived as long as I have, and you've seen all the things that I've seen and done all the things that I've done. You realize that it's like relative to wherever you are, that like not killing somebody is not a, like, what do you call it, a constant of reality. It's something made up that we feel is right. So you understand that it's not like that. It's not a big deal.
So as Tristan, spoiler alert, Tristan, we haven't read it. No, I'm kidding. But and then of course, just like every Marvel thing, there's a little thing that lingers at the end of it. So basically, that old man ends up reflecting on all this stuff, and he keeps coming back to these symbols, and the symbol so happens to be the symbol for Miracle Man, who isn't like well known. Like if nobody knew who Miracle Man was,
obscure,
like I would understand. But it's interesting because Miracle Man just recently became like Marvel related, because when when Miracle Man was first introduced, he was some like UK, hero who was basically, and it's quoted, a ripoff of Fawcett Comics, and Fawcett was bought by DC back in the day, but Fawcett were the publishers from the Golden Age that introduced Shazam, aka the original Captain Marvel is what it was called before all these rights things happened, and Marvel took Captain Marvel's name and they had to call him Shazam. But basically Captain Marvel / Shazam was Fawcett Publications, whatever's thing, and the UK was like, we want to do that. So they did their own version of Fawcett and Shazam, and it was Miracle Man. So Miracle Man is basically this like Shazam character. And of course, Alan Moore has done his whole take on it, and who else has done
basically
Miracle Man?
Alan Moore did the bulk of what people consider is like the definitive Miracle Man comics. And from there, Neil Gaiman like took the reins and continued it, and I heard it's still good after that. But I'm biased. I'm sure Moore's is the best.
Yeah.
So,
but and it's interesting because now Marvel's releasing like this omnibus of that Alan Moore run of
entire run.
And
I'm
it's
sure
just
he's not getting a dime.
Oh my gosh!
That's how it is.
Stan Lee's taking them all, taking all the money. No, but
it's all just getting like funneled into his coffin.
Oh my gosh! So it's interesting, and then this is the last page of it. If you guys want to see it, that's the Miracle Man symbol, which is going to be the 1 in 25, I believe. He sees it there, and it's interesting. So does that mean that this old man is Miracle Man?
I would like that. I would like to see, because he seems to be a prominent character in this story, and I feel like maybe they have more plans for him. I'd like to see somebody, because superheroes and heroes always have this sort of typical look, and he's atypical. He's an old man, balding spot, mustache. He's not what you would consider a like archetype of a superhero.
And then basically they tease time marches on across the Marvel universe. The road forward wins through. Get these upcoming stories, whatever. And it's basically all the future things that are happening in the Marvel universe, like the new female Goblin. I forgot what her name is. Hulk/Thor, Banner of War, and you have the looks like it's like a video game. It says verses and stuff. It's probably gonna be like a variant cover, but you have Cosmic Thor, created by Donny Cates, and whatever this Smashtronaut Hulk, also created by Donny Cates. So it's pretty interesting. Donny Cates is tying all his stories to. I mean, Hulk and Thor have always had that dynamic with each other. So it's cool, he's writing both of them, and he's like, you know what? They're gonna fight. That's basically what he is. And then, just like Tristan mentioned, they tease this big crossover. Judgment Day is coming, and you got Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals. Eternals now being relevant. They're tying it all in. So yeah, if you guys want to read Timeless #1, it's a one-shot. You don't need to, worry that there's going to be more issues. We still have a few copies available, not just this one cover, but we have all the variant covers. Now the variant covers, since they're Stormbreaker variants is what they call them, they doesn't say Timeless on the cover. It's like just the pure virgin variant, and it's just the art, and it has I think that's it, like the barcode maybe, but in the back of it will say Timeless Stormbreaker variant, artist name. It's just them trying to showcase these new artists. So they don't put the Timeless word on it. So if you guys think that Timeless is sold out because you don't see any books that say Timeless, no, it's just that, the Timeless is the title is in the back because they want to show off the art. But now on to the
second book on hand.
Yeah. So this is the hardcover that we have in the store. I think it's the last one we have. Nightwing, which is the Leaping into the Light storyline, written by Tom Taylor, art by Bruno Redondo. I think that's how you say it. Tom Taylor has done plenty of cool stuff. He's done a lot for DC. I would say he's most notable for making such heartfelt, storylines revolve around characters. He's done it with Batman. He's done it with, of course, Nightwing. He's doing it with Superman, Son of Kal-El. So yeah, he's a very great writer. I think he also did The Deceased, right?
Yeah, Deceased.
This Deceased. So it's interesting, there's nothing heartfelt about that. But obviously he's a man of many talents. He's not just going to create beautiful moments. He's also going to create disgusting moments. But yeah, so
hardcover, look at that.
Yeah, so this is underneath the thing. It's the art in this book, so beautiful.
That's fantastic.
What I love about the art is that they always do that thing that they used to do back in the day, where if Spider-Man's jumping over people, they have it's a little like that.
The lines.
Yeah, and it's him fading, and then this is the more solid color because this is where he lands.
Yeah, this is where he is.
And they do that with Nightwing, he's running through things, and it's 20 Nightwings. And it's so interesting.
Yes, this is a Bat Child.
So this is Dick Grayson. He was the first Robin?
Very first Robin.
And then he grows up and he has no trauma on him. No, I mean he lost his parents, so I guess.
He lost his parents and he's
but he's made the best of it.
He's been through stuff, but he doesn't it doesn't hang over him the way it hangs over others. Him and Barbara, which is why I think they work so well together as a couple. Mm-hmm. Is that they've both been through some pretty traumatic things, and that even though that's true, they still manage to be happy people. Mm-hmm. Because you look at Jason Todd, is the least happy person.
Leave him alone.
And Damien is
just a boy.
Damien's just this little ball of angst.
I hate Damien. Yeah,
he's a brat.
So this is this isn't this is the trade of the storyline. When Tom Taylor started writing it, he didn't start writing it from issue 1. This takes place in issue 70.
It's 78. Is
78
the start of the run.
Yes, the lady from The Killing Joke.
That's Batgirl, not just the lady.
So this is starts off at issue 78. So you don't need to read issue number 1 to know what's going on in Tom Taylor's run. You can literally start from 78, and it's still going on as we speak. But it's super good. Basically, it takes place after the Joker War and all this stuff.
It feels
City of Bane, it takes off.
man, when I was reading it, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Because, yeah, she got shot and couldn't use her legs.
So she's the Oracle in this book, so she's no longer Batgirl, unfortunately.
She can walk around. She got, like, spinal, like, what do you call it? Superhero comic surgery.
Yeah.
Where something that can't happen. So she can walk around, but stuff like that happened. I thought Jason was the angsty member of the Bat family. He is. I'm just saying that Damian is also angsty.
It's because he's a kid.
He's a kid. He's just a brat. But the way this book feels like a breath of fresh air is that, like, it feels so removed from all of the tie-ins and the Batman, like, dome that has been like ever since, like, there was a certain point when Tom King was writing it, and then you got City of Bane. It's like, okay, so a supervillain has taken control of Gotham, and everybody's in despair waiting for Batman to show up and stop him. It's like, okay, I see. And it's like, okay, so what happens after that? Well, there's a Joker war, and the Joker takes control of Gotham City and holds it hostage, and everybody's waiting for Batman to show up and save them. It's like, okay, it's the same thing really, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens after that? Fear State. And it's Scarecrow taking the city hostage, and Batman, everybody's just waiting for Batman to come and save the day. So, and while all these things are happening, everybody's books are being tied into it. They feel sort of trapped in these tie-ins. And, what's it called? Tom King made this weird decision to have Dick Grayson be shot by KG Beast, the villain, in the head. So he gets shot in the head, you think he's dead, and then he becomes conscious, they save him, and he has no memory of who he is and all that stuff. And he becomes Rick Grayson. Yep. And from there, he has a long run of comics that people scratch their head about like, what was that? Doesn't know who he is. Just get back to being Nightwing, please. Why did Tom King do this? What's going on? And then it's like, when Tom Taylor gets his hands on him, he's like, okay, let's just forget about all this. Let's get away from the fear states and this and that and all that.
He just wanted to use this platform to talk about Tom King.
Well, I will say that was something Tom King did that didn't seem to have any consideration for that character. I mean, like, he wrote that for Batman to get mad at KG Beast. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, he completely derailed Nightwing's book and made it about him being Rick Grayson and all this other stuff. And who knows, maybe it was something that, like, editorial came together with the writers for Batman and Nightwing and, like, the whole Bat family or whatever. And they're like, hey, let's have, him lose his memory. How do we do that? And he's like, I don't know, Tom, what do you think? How about we get KG Beast to shoot him? It's like, okay, maybe it was a joint decision, but, Tom King's just like that. He has a weird way of handling certain characters, so Tom Taylor, when he gets his hands on Nightwing, it feels, like I said, like you're up for air. It's like, oh my god.
So, as you guys know, Nightwing grew up in a family of
circus acrobats.
Yeah, so he has no trouble jumping around, and this is what I mean when they show him fighting, and he's like swinging. You see, there's 20 of them. No, there isn't literally 20 of them. There's just
it's like just showing a progression to show you how he moved to get there.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool. Like, I love it. I mean, I've seen it in the Spider-Man books. Plus, I love the art too. Like, I love the way they make everyone look.
It's very clean, and the colorist. Mm-hmm. I love the colors. They're almost pastelish. This sort of,
like, the panels are so good. Like,
yeah,
like, you have Nightwing and Robin. Now, which Robin is this, you may ask?
The cool thing about reading it was it reminds me a lot of reading 70s and 80s Daredevil, where you see a lot of the tricks that Daredevil uses with his billy clubs.
Yeah.
You see that a lot in this book with how Dick Grayson, his billy clubs have different attachments, different, like, compartments that do stuff. It's cool. And the way the art does it, it's like a little progression of, like, this goes up, and then from there is a compartment that exposes a dart, and he can shoot it, and this and that, stuff like that. And it's just really detailed and really cool. So yeah, I really dig that.
Yeah, and the I don't know, there's so many cool moments. Like, he throws his staff at this guy, he catches it, and it, like, shows the panel of his eyes, like, oh. And he's like, what did he say? I've underestimated him, and then he knocks him out, you know. And it's crazy. Like, I think this book, you know, it does so good with the pacing, with the writing, with the art. Like, this book is like, oh man, definitely one of the best of 2020.
I would say that
2021, sorry. It's just, and they just make Dick Grayson this heartful, you know, person, you know, and they kind of touch back to that, and it's the whole what is it? So I mean, I guess this is a spoiler of the person who died.
If we're gonna be discussing this, I'm pretty sure most people, like, this happened way back in City of Bane.
Yeah, which was like a long time ago.
That
was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, so it's not really spoilers. We're just talking about like this book. So it picks up right after he's like recovered his memory and everything from everything Tom King did to him, and so he knows who he is, and he's like, okay. And I also found out that Alfred's passed away.
Yeah.
You know. So Tom King shot me. Tom King had me shot.
That's the spoiler, I guess, guys.
Tom King killed Alfred. I'm sorry. I mean, Bane killed Alfred, and KGB shot me. What's up?
No, I don't think I had to check something. I'm sorry.
Is everything okay?
No, yeah, everything's okay.
Right.
It was just a message from Ramsey. And of course, when Ramsey messages, we gotta look. No, it's nothing.
Okay. Right.
What's it called? So, what? Sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying, like, I was making a joke. That's why I was like, I'm crapping on Tom King.
I know. I heard the part. I just you get numb to it after a while. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but that's just, you know, how I feel. It's like, yeah, Tom King already, like, he was like a wrecking ball in my life. So yeah, Alfred was killed by Bane, and what's it called? It's sad. It's very sad, and they do it like Tom Taylor does a great job of making that feel like it's always there. That Alfred's passing is still being felt because Tom King didn't really do that. God. And
and he inherits money. He inherits a lot of money. You keep forgetting that part.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm getting to. It's just
he's like, but Tom King though.
So Tom King.
Let me tell you what he did with his money. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is that Dick Grayson finds out that Alfred, in his will, left all of his money to him, and he finds out it's like, since he was being paid by, you know, Bruce Wayne and everything, it was an enormous amount of money. And if I remember right, it's like millions or even $1 billion or something like that.
Which is a lot of money.
It is. Now he has an enormous wealth, and he doesn't know what to do with it.
And it's so crazy because, I mean, in case you guys don't know, I mean, Dick Grayson is the first Robin. So, of course, Alfred is going to have the strongest connection with him. As he has with all his children, I suppose you might want to call them. He's fathered everyone, including Bruce Wayne. And so, of course, during his passing, I mean, who is he going to give his money to? Bruce Wayne? Like, no. So
right back into my bank.
And then, of course, you know, the other Robins are already, like, they're still kind of being funded by Bruce Wayne in a way. So there was no other better person to give this money to than Nightwing, who is a grown adult, you know. And he trusts him. He knows that he's a kind-hearted person, and he knows that there is no better person in his life to give this money to than to Dick Grayson. And it's shown in the book that, you know, that Alfred knew all along, and it's so sad. Not sad. It's so heartwarming. Yeah, like, you know, there's so many scenes where, like, he's this cajillionaire and he's hanging out with Barbara, and, you know, he buys all these people pizza, and he's just like, oh, you know what, pizza for everyone. And he's like, he's not doing it to, like, be like, yeah.
He's not flaunting his
wealth.
Like,
he's just doing it because he cares.
Because there's some people there that, well, how does it happen? Where it's like there's some people there and that they wanted to get pizza, but they didn't have enough money or something like that. So he's like, oh, I'll spot you. And then, like, some other people are like, hey, would you mind spotting us? He's like, yeah, sure. You know what? I'll just get pizza for everybody. And it turns into this huge thing where a whole bunch of even homeless people come up to this pizza joint and they're getting a whole bunch of business. And he's just paying everybody. And he gets, like, inspired by that moment and says, like, that's what I'm going to do with my money, is open a pizza chain. I'm just kidding. He's going to basically create, like, a huge, a fund and a foundation that's built to reinvigorate the city. Like, he's, like, funneling the money into the city and, like, raising it up from the ground, because it's, like, Bloodhaven has always been, like, is it Bloodhaven? Yeah, it's always been,
you
like,
hear it in the name.
Bloodhaven. Yeah, like, it's a bad city, and it's been, like, under his protection since he became
Nightwing.
He had his not became Nightwing because he didn't start protecting that city until I think the 90s, when like Chuck Dixon, was writing it, and so that was a long time ago, and it's been under his protection for that long. So this is his chance to finally make some real change beyond like fighting supervillains. Like he can make the city, take care of itself in a way. So I think that's really cool because I like it when superhero stories can touch on topics of today, like broken systems and the diversity or disparity of wealth between the classes of people and everything, without it seeming like a lecture where it's like, shame on you. It's like, no, we're having Nightwing say all these things and do all these things, and by just knowing that these things exist, we can make those connections ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's really well written, and it feels like it's not a lecture. It's a organic story that's happening.
They do introduce well, I know one thing that Matt loved about Tynion's work in Batman was they introduced so many characters.
Miracle Molly right here.
But with Nightwing, they introduce a couple characters. One who is this mayor, this woman, and I don't know. Are we allowed to spoil it? I mean, she's related, to Bane. No, I'm kidding.
There's a connection. They have a connection.
Yeah.
We're not going to say what it is.
She has a connection with Dick Grayson, and but there's all this corruption going on, obviously, in the politics as well. Alfred punched Superman.
That's true.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Speaking of, there's so many moments in this book where Nightwing is trying to figure out. So the book basically it revolves around Nightwing with this whole lot of, or Dick Grayson with this whole lot of money. He wants to figure out what he wants to do it for, but at the same time, he's trying to solve this corruption that's tied in with this mayor, also tied in with this new villain who is called Heartless. Who basically steals people's hearts.
Yeah, he tears people's hearts out.
And it's, you hear it and you're like, that's such a dumb thing. But I mean, I feel like they're going to make it. They haven't really touched so much on him. Like, he just comes in,
I think it's
he
because,
fights him. And
Fear State shows up, and that was like 3 issues, I think.
Yeah.
And like Heartless and all that stuff, it like wraps, and then it's 3 issues of tie-ins, and then after that, it's the newest issue that just came out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now we're back to the story.
So it's like, and basically he rips people's heart out and he collects them. So he's a crazy man. Obviously, he's a villain. But, and somehow all this is going on, and at the same time, he's still trying to figure out his own personal things.
It juggles between all of those.
And then he has his relationship with Barbara, who, they
I
have
love
this
it.
connection, and Tom Taylor, he does so well with human connections. But there's so many scenes, and it was literally like near the end where he's trying to figure out what he should do with the money, and he tries to seek for advice, and he's there narrating like, I try to seek some friends, and he goes to the Teen Titans, and they're all there, and Beast Boy's like, I have a couple ideas, and then he also goes to Superman, and it was such a great scene because Batman and Superman have had this friendship / beef in the past. And Nightwing has kind of been in the middle of it all.
He's grown up around them.
So he talks to Superman, and he's like, what brings you to Metropolis? And then he tells them that I want to seek some advice from someone that I relate to or whatever. And he's just like, you mean like an alien? Because technically he's an alien. And he's like, no, to someone who's the most human person I've ever met. And it's like such a touching moment where it's like, because Superman isn't human, but in the inside, like he is, and to Nightwing, he compliments him, and they share that moment, and they talk about Alfred, and Superman's there saying like, I looked up to Alfred, and he's like, really? He's like, the Superman looked up to Alfred, and you think about it, and it's like, why wouldn't you look up to Alfred? Like, he was just this. He was obviously the most human person of all of them. He didn't have any special abilities, but what's it called? Superman even mentions like he helped raise these people, including Bruce, and it's just this touching conversation that happens, and then it kind of also ties into the son of Kal-El a little bit because he tells him like, I'm gonna be out for a while. My son Jonathan Kent is gonna be, taking over my mantle basically, and if he needs any assistance, can you watch him? And he's just like, sure. And he's like, I don't know what I can do. and he's like, oh well, you seem. What does he say that you're like the best person I can think of to, as a
help guide him as a moral compass
that he can look up to, and it's so many beautiful moments in these books, like just so many touching conversations.
My favorite part is when he gives the speech about what he's gonna do with the money in front of like television cameras and stuff. He's dressed in a nice suit and he's presenting his whole plan for the city, and it goes over really, really well. And he had just talked to Superman like before that, and he had talked to him about how it's difficult to talk to Bruce about these types of things because he's it's like everybody can understand if they've had that kind of father, or if they have a friend who's had that kind of father who's just intimidating because he's got a lot on his plate, so you don't want to like bother him. So that's
and he even jokes about it. He's like, oh, I might as well just send him a text. He doesn't like to have that connection, and Superman like laughs and he's like, yeah, probably, like, shoot him a text. But then obviously he underestimates Bruce, and
that's what happens is like he gives that speech, and then he gets a phone call.
Well, first there's all the group message between the Bat family,
that's
and it literally like it's such a great like cool thing because obviously the Bat family has its own group chat, and of course they're like, oh, what would this person say in a group chat, and they have Steph, who's
Stephanie Brown,
and she's like, wow, and then they have Tim. He's like always raising the bar higher for the rest of us. Proud of you. And then you have Jason, who's like, nice work. Before you give it all away, don't forget you owe me $20. And it's like, these are the things they would say. And then Damien is like, no, not that it's a competition, but you win. Obviously, Damien's always about competitive. And then you have Cass, which is Casey, or Cassie, right?
Yeah, Cassie.
And it's just a bunch of emojis. Yeah, just a bunch of emojis.
Because she's mute?
Yeah. So
she was, but now she can talk.
I always thought it was because she's young. And she's hip. She is young, right? I mean,
she is. Well, she's been young since she showed up in like the 1990s. So I don't know.
And then after all these messages, his phone is blowing up after he gives that speech, and he ends up like, not to get into detail what he's gonna do with the money, but the foundation is called the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, and it's such a beautiful thing. What better person to name it after? There's already a Wayne Foundation, like. And he's not the type of person that's like, oh, I'm gonna name it the Dick Grayson Foundation. Like, no, like, he's naming it after Alfred, and then his phone starts ringing, and then he's just like, hey, he's like, you don't usually call, and then it shows Batman, and he's there saying it's such a he's like, I know, and he's like, here, I'll show it to you guys, or let me get it on this so I can see how it looks. It's this whole scene. And he's like, what is he saying? I know.
He says, I know. I'm sorry, but you, Dick, you honored him today.
And then it's like a little photo of little Bruce.
Little Bruce with Alfred.
And, obviously, and it's such a thing, and he calls Dick
to let him know.
To let him know personally, like, that he did such a good, and it's so beautiful, and I almost cried. And then of course it ends with Heartless, he's coming back, and it's like, oh, all this stuff, but obviously the story isn't over. Like, Heartless still exists.
Megan, she's crying now.
Cassie goes over the top with the group chats with the emojis. And it's such a beautiful moment, and like this whole book itself, like, it's so good. Like, I love it. Tom Taylor. One of my favorite moments that Tom Taylor did was one of the Batman annuals, and I posted it on our Facebook before for Father's Day, where it was like a Father's Day thing, and Bruce is there telling Alfred to take a day off. He's like, oh, take a day off, and he's just like, are you sure? Like, no, like, I'll do it. And he's like, yes, like, just take a day off. He's like, get some rest. And Alfred's so confused because he's so used to just working and doing all these things, and then what's it called? And then I feel like it's the same photo where it's young Bruce and Alfred, and the title of it's Happy Father's Day. And obviously, Bruce is like, it's Father's Day. This is my father. Have a day off, like, stop working. And Alfred, being the way that he is, he's like, no, like, I gotta do this, take care of the mansion. Why did this Bane kill Alfred?
Why did this Bane?
You had to ask.
Well,
It all started
It all started
when the
with
CIA hired.
a man named Tom King. No, anyway, it was a story called City of Bane, where a supervillain, and this is a supervillain that's really a really good villain. It's just a really weird story. So, Bane is a supervillain that's basically born and raised in prison. And this is something that can only happen in comic books because he's born in prison and his father dies, who's also in prison. And the government that's crooked, that, this is all happening at, they say, you know what? This child will serve the remaining years of his father's sentence. So he stays in prison for, his father's sins, basically. And he gets, he just works out. And not just physically, but mentally. Like, he reads, and he becomes this, hyper-intelligent, super strong, in a sense, almost like Batman, where he's trained himself physically and mentally. Mm-hmm. And once he gets out of Santa Prisca, which is the prison that he was at, his goal is to basically, be the top dog. Take over everything. Just become the biggest guy. Because it's like he's born with a hole in his belly that he can't fill because he's never had anything, you know? So that's what it's all about. So in this story, I don't know how he does it, but he has the whole city under his control. And he has this special rule where no one can, there won't be any vigilantes operating within city limits of Gotham. And if there are any spotted, because it's Batman. It's Batman, the various Robins and Spoiler and Batgirls and all that stuff. He's like, if any of you are seen, I will kill Alfred because we have Alfred. And Damien, being the little brat that he is like, you know what? Screw that. I can take care of him. I can fight Bane. I can take care of this and not be spotted. Of course, he gets caught.
You gotta admit, Tom King did a good Damien. You have to admit it.
It's not hard to write an impetulant child. So anyway, yeah, he gets caught, and then what's it called? They kill Alfred. Bane kills Alfred.
It's one of those moments where you're like, nah, they're not gonna kill him. It's a comic book,
And then they killed him.
They're gonna bring him back to life. There is a scene though in the Joker war where Joker gets Alfred's corpse, and it's like,
why?
It's Tinian, it's not King.
I know, but that's not that's another. Why did Tinian do that?
He because the Joker wants to taunt what is it, Bruce. The one thing I didn't like was that the Joker had his own bat suit.
That's hilarious.
That was like,
check it out, Batman. It's like, okay.
But there is some touching moments in that scene because I think they knock out Bruce or something, and he's having these hallucinations that he's talking with Alfred. And it's supposed to be this touching moment, and Alfred's like, well, get up, Master Bruce. And he's like, what? Get up. And then he gets up, and then he's ready, to fight. And I thought it was a good moment. Tinian has done, I think, a lot more good in this Batman run than he has done not good. Of course, he has his moments, Miracle Molly and all that. But
I think
the Clown Hunter, they haven't really touched so much on him. It's an interesting, simple story with the Clown Hunter. The Joker's goons killed his mom, and who saves? I don't remember who saves him. Is it Batman or is it someone else?
I don't know, but just like everybody else in modern Batman stories,
he gets inspired.
He blames Batman.
No, well, the Clown Hunter blames the Joker.
Yeah, but
he's inspired.
But he's still, whenever he bumps into Batman, he's like, well, I don't like you because you didn't never kill Joker, and because of that we suffer. And it's like, why is it on Batman's shoulders to kill the Joker?
It always is.
But why? Why can't how many cops operate in the city? Anyone
They're
could
corrupt.
Just shot him.
They're corrupt.
Not all of them.
You haven't read Nightwing where he's fighting.
That's Bloodhaven.
Oh yeah, but still, it's also corrupt. Everything in DC is corrupt.
I'm just saying,
Metropolis is run by Lex.
I just think it's silly for people to blame Batman for Joker being alive, when it's you want to blame the guy who is spending every day of his life breaking his own back, saving everybody and doing all this stuff, instead of law enforcement who have the authority to take a life if it's necessary. Batman has his own personal code that he refuses to break because he has principles. You know what I mean? Why do you want to make him break it instead of a bunch of police officers take Joker into custody. Can't one of them just go, well, you know what, bang? And it's like, yeah, so what? It's the Joker.
So let's
Why is it Batman's fault?
touching back to Nightwing. Let's talk about. So this is the beginning of the book. It starts off with like a little flashback of technically how Dick Grayson met Barbara, and they were kids, and you know there's bullies, and Barbara's like, hey, you know, pick on someone your own size, and they're like, oh, you know what are you gonna do? And then obviously her dad is Commissioner Gordon, and she's like, Daddy, and then you know they're like, oh shoot, and then what's it called? Commissioner Gordon ends up putting him under Bruce's hands, and Alfred's like, you know, we'll take great care of him, and that's where that connection begins with Alfred and Dick Grayson, and then here it's where it says DC proudly presents Nightwing, and it's so beautiful, like this whole Sunset City like
it's
scenery.
a weird book because it feels too good.
It is, and it's like, and they have like his little what is it, acrobatic like, you know, move,
pose,
you know, that's what he does. Like, you know, you don't see Spider-Man doing that because Spider-Man didn't grow up in the circus. And then it's like present day, and these goons are like, whatever, they're kicking this dog, and it's so sad.
Because
like,
the dog is also missing a leg.
And like when you read it, like you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, you know, they're kicking this dog.
If it was Tom King, something horrible would happen.
They kill the dog, and they're like, haha, dude, so cool. All these like words while they kick the dog, and then there's the dog all injured, and Nightwing is there, and look at the little dog. He's looking up to him.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're my hero, and the guys are like, what are you gonna do about it? And you know, he beats them up, and then of course they have those scenes we were talking about where there's like 20 of him showing as he's progressing. He beats them all up, and then he adopts the dog.
He adopts the dog.
And like the whole book, you know,
the dog is
there. Like the dog is there.
It's now a recurring character in the book.
And they've made so many like variant covers with the dog, and there's one that I love so much
where it's dreaming that it's a superhero.
It was a third print. You know, with the Nightwing books, they keep coming out with second and third prints because it's so really popular. Well. Yeah, and the third print is a little dog, and he's dreaming, and the dream is like him, you know, fighting crime with Nightwing, and it's so cute. Like it's like when you thought that this book couldn't get any better.
They
like,
called him Bitewing, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's so cute. Like why they didn't have to. Like it was already sentimental enough, and they're like, you know what? He's not only gonna adopt the dog that he saves, but the dog is also gonna be, you know, a part of his story, a part of his, you know, because what better way to like grow as a character than to have a cute pet with you? It could have been a cat also, but they went with the dog, and maybe dogs sell more. That's probably it. But
or gorillas. You know, DC loves gorillas. Imagine if the same thing, except it was a gorilla running, being beat up by a bunch of people. He's like, I'm gonna adopt this gorilla.
And there's so many great scenes where like they touch back to like Nightwing's, what is it, would you say origin, like here where they show like him jumping off the building, and it's like how
all the different costumes.
Yeah, all the different, like obviously there's this was a cover,
I love that cover,
and it shows Alfred holding his cape.
Alfred's holding,
you know, and then Barbara's there too as well. And then this one where he's jumping off the building, and he's there saying, I've spent my life working without a safety net, and it shows the boy wonder, you know, where he had the tights, and then here where he, you know, matured, and then the old school George Perez Nightwing suit, and then the more modern red Nightwing suit. I used to have an action figure of that, and then the current Nightwing, and it's like, you know, they do that. It's so beautiful. Like, I love it so much. And then the relationship between, they even show the classic Teen Titans, Teen Titans, there in the corner where he's talking about his friends.
Wally,
you
got before he left.
You got
Donna Troy,
old school looking Starfire,
Cyborg, and it's great.
Beast Boy, and then he's here. He's like, with my friends. He's like my brothers, and he has all the Bat family. You got Red Hood and the Robins. It's just so beautiful. Like, and then you got Barbara taking care of the little doggy, because Barbara is also an important character in this book.
I love their relationship because there's
that was random.
Just stop that. Anyway,
so comments, not the dog. Yeah, dog say Bat dog. Reminds me of how they would clip in the Adam West Batman TV show. Yeah. They always do that, like in the Lego Batman movie. Just kidding. But it's so good. Like, you know,
It's
Nightwing is
definitely-
not even like he's a popular character in a way,
I
you
think
know,
he
but
has,
he isn't as, you know, popular. Like Red Hood, I would say Red Hood is popular just because of that whole Under the Red Hood storyline.
I think he's popular in the same way that like certain characters got really popular in the 90s because they were so edgy,
Yeah.
like Spawn,
Mhm.
stuff like that. I feel like that's DC's Spawn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That what's his name? Red Hood is the edgy Robin that everybody likes, and I think because of that he has a very vocal fan base.
Mhm.
But I think Nightwing is a very unique character because he's the first Robin, and he's been there since the beginning, since the 1940s. So like, that's a long time. This character has some serious.
He's the only
history.
one that's like grown up, I guess.
Yeah. So he's been around for a long time. He's fully grown into his own character, independent of Batman, and he carries his own book. He's had a history as a leader, as the Teen Titans and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So he's just a fantastic, dynamic character with a diverse and interesting history.
Like, I think it's crazy, like, you know, whenever they asked Tom Taylor, like, hey, can you do Nightwing? Or unless he was like, hey, I want to do Nightwing. Like, I just wonder, like, the ideas he had in his head is like, all right, so.
he said, "I have like 10 years worth," is how he said it.
And it's like.
I hope he does. 'Cause
Yeah, I hope he does too, because it's like, it's so good, and he knows, you know, it's doing numbers, and it's beautiful. I think he's from the UK, right?
I'm not sure. I don't
think
know
Tom
much
Taylor is
about
from
him
the-
as a person.
So it's like, and the art, I think they're changing artists, unless they already changed the artist.
No, it's Redondo still, isn't it?
Is it? I know they were gonna change it to a girl, and they showed like the new Nightwing look. It's obviously the same look, but just in her style, and it looked really good. They were gonna do like a designer variant cover, showing, you know, how he looks in her art. And I thought it looked good too. The art, and I saw Tom Taylor tweeting about it because I follow him on Twitter because I love his book. And he was there, like, you know, retweeting the art. He's like, oh yeah, you know, Nightwing's gonna get a new look and can't wait, and all that stuff, and it looks good. Like,
He's
I'm
Australian, according to Tristan.
okay, Australian. So yeah, it's just, I think it's good. I highly recommend it, guys.
Me too.
We only have one book left, but if we had, you know, and it's on Josh's pool because Josh is even reading it. Like,
And he doesn't dig comics like the rest of us. He likes manga and stuff, but
But
it's
he wanted to
that
read it.
Appealing. It's that good.
so he wanted to read it, and we had one, and I ended up getting him one for Christmas, one of the hardcovers. So, and he said he read it and he loved it. So I put it on his recommendations, but if me and Matt had room, we would put it on our
Yeah,
recommendations
but
too.
they're cluttered.
Yeah, we have so many recommendations, but this is definitely, like, I mean, Josh already has it. Why do we need to have it too? But the fact that, like, we're not recommending it because we want to sell it. We want to recommend it because it's so good. Like,
We want people
Like-
to share in its.
and maybe it's not your style. You know, a lot of people like the dark stuff. They like, you know, something.
I like dark stuff. Like, clearly we both do because we.
Yeah, that's
like
all
the
we talk
past
about.
2 episodes we were talking about really depressing comic books.
Yeah.
But that's where these books come in. They're sort of the the break from the harsh realities of the other books. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So these types of books are very necessary. They're very like inspiring, make you have faith in people.
Yeah.
And, like Dick Grayson, Nightwing in this book is somebody you trust, and that's something you don't get in a lot of stories nowadays. Even like superhero stories, you wish you could just trust the heroes, but like they fail so much now and everything. So,
And then, of course, the hardcover always comes with some bonus features. You know, designs and stuff. Heartless. You know, sketches and all. So it's really good. Like, this is our last one. I ordered more and they haven't came in yet, unless they're in our current shipment of DC that's there. Could be. But this is our last one for now. And of course, if we get more, we'll post it. But I feel like, because normally, like, with Something Is Killing the Children Volume 1, I would say consistently we keep selling out.
yeah.
Like, I feel like the one we have right now is already like our 4th order, and I feel like I've been ordering like maybe like 7 to 8 copies of that book. I feel like this is gonna be the same thing. This is our 2nd shipment, so I think I did order a 3rd shipment. I'm hoping it's coming in soon, but I've been ordering 4 at a time because these are hardcover. They're a little more expensive, but it's only $25, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So there's our last copy, and of course, if we get more, we will post it on our Facebook and Instagram. And it's still going on, so you guys can read this, start from here, and then continue on with the current issues that are on our walls. And it's really good. Highly recommend it. 10 out of 10, I would give it.
Same.
I love Something is Killing the Children. I probably rate it like an 8.5 out of 10. I know Matt will give it like a 2 out of 10. But
I give it. Oh, come on.
I'm kidding.
I usually go with 4 stars. 1 is bad, 2 is okay, 3 is like good, and then 4 is like great.
Okay.
So I think Something's Killing the Children.
Out of 4 stars? So you're going out of 4, not
Yeah.
5? Okay.
I always do 4 because it feels simple to separate it like that. Bad, like okay. Okay is okay. You know what I mean? So I would give Something's Killing the Children 2. And that doesn't mean 5 out of 10 because 5 out of 10 sounds bad.
I see it as 5 out of 10. It's
2
50. You
is
give
like
it 50%.
50, but I explained it. Bad, okay, good, and great. Like
If I were to do it in the star method, I feel like 5 stars makes sense because the 3rd star is like, it's not bad, but it's also not good.
Well, then if you want to go with that, that's what I would give Something's Killing the Children.
What, the 3? Okay.
Yeah, 3.
Out of 5.
3 out of
Okay.
5.
I give Something is Killing the Children a 4 out of 5. I do give this a 5 out of 5. So it's really good. I enjoy it. I mean, come on, it almost made me cry. Like, a comic book almost made me cry. Like, but I mean, it has the pictures, it has the story, and it's like, you have these touching moments with Batman and Dick Grayson, and it's like, I feel like some way or another, like, we all can connect with Alfred because as we grew up with Batman, we also grew up with Alfred at the same time. Yeah. Either it's through the movies, through the cartoons, through the TV shows.
I failed you.
What's his name? Michael
Caine.
Michael Clark Duncan. No,
Michael Caine Duncan.
Michael Caine. I failed you, Master Wayne. But stop! It's such a sad moment. No, but
it's his fault.
Oh my gosh! All right, well, it's good. I love it. I can't wait for the Batman to come out. I hate that they never in these popular movies of Batman, the Christian Bale series, the new Robert Pattinson, like they never want to introduce Robin anymore, or a Robin. Like, they kind of teased it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and but that was it. Like, it was literally.
That's when he was like, "I like your middle name or first name, Robin." It's like, oh, give me a break.
His name isn't even Robin.
Yeah, I know. It's like his name is.
But I mean, his
Grayson
name.
Or Richard.
What was his name in that movie?
It was like Blake, Officer Blake.
Was
or
it
something like that? And it's like, why don't you go by your whole name, Robin, the boy wonder Blake.
Your middle name.
The boy
Blake,
wonder.
Boy Wonder, Robin, Grayson, Drake. No, but I mean, just imagine, he's like, why do you go by your first name, Nightwing? Like, I don't know, but I liked it when I saw it when it came out. They're like Robin. I was like, oh, that's a cool nod, but the movie's already over. They're not gonna do anything with it. I guess that's why they did it. But and I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so it was this whole thing, and they never really did anything with Robin, and I feel like it's because they've taken this whole dark tone, and Robin is a little shine of light. If they ever do add a Robin, it's gonna be like Jason Todd, and it's gonna tie into something even darker.
That's literally what they did when they showed the Robin costume and that.
Oh yeah, in Batman it's like ha ha ha, and it has like the crowbar and all that.
Why would he keep that there? Like,
to remember what he's fighting for.
Don't you think he would scrub it? And it's like, you know what? I'm not gonna put it up there with all the graffiti and all that stuff.
No, I think he did it as like a reminder, and
I think the suit being there is enough of a reminder.
And the crowbar too.
The crowbar is there.
This is the thing that killed.
Look, these were some of the teeth of his that were found on scene.
And then of course in the Snyder Cut where he's like, oh, people, you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job, and it's like, it was cool. I like that they called back to it, but even though I'm not super big on Jared Leto, but
Larighetto.
I'm guessing because DC does want to make the mistake of Joel Schumacher did to Robin in his 2 movies. Yeah, I know. What's it called? And then, of course, the Robert Pattinson movie, I doubt they're going to have a Batman. I mean, it's young Batman. It's young Bruce Wayne. what is it, year one or whatever?
No, I think they've shown that it's not so much a year one because they're avoiding making it like Batman Begins, where you literally see him like, okay, so I'm getting my suit
He's
from
a-
here.
yeah, he's
I'm
a
getting
young-
my Batmobile.
You don't think they're gonna do that?
I think one thing that I think makes this movie look very promising is the fact that they show that it's a firmly established Gotham City with already living and breathing rogues gallery. There's Penguin and Catwoman and Riddler and Batman. These are all characters that are already there. And from what I can tell, it's gonna be a small bit of Penguin in the movie. He's probably gonna be only in the opening or something like that, where Batman's gonna stop him, and that's it. You know what I mean? Because he's not the villain for the movie, but it's showing that villains exist and that Batman exists. I'm hoping it's gonna be like the '89 Batman movie, where it just starts and everybody's talking about him like an urban legend, where people know he's out there. But it's still early in his career in this movie. I think it's going to be more like 3 years of him being Batman, or 2 years, and from there.
I mean, yeah, I
he's
guess
still
I
gonna
see it
be
in the
fresh.
trailer because what is it, Commissioner Gordon with the whole.
Yeah, there's established.
And they're just like, oh,
relationship
you know anything about this? And, he ends up coming out from the shadows. So it seems like I could see that.
I'm hoping that movie's good.
It looks, I think it looks, I mean, Matt Reeves, he's a very promising director.
I thought those 2 last Ape movies he made were pretty good.
He did, yeah, the first one was like,
Eh.
but, it was whatever, it had James Franco.
James Franco, I just could not
and,
buy as a scientist.
Malfoy. So, but there was some good moments in it. It was an introduction, when the apes are yelling, when the apes are in the planet. No, I'm kidding. Where the apes are like, no! And it's this whole thing, and it's like, whoa, what happens. They become.
He didn't say the line.
Which
He was
one?
like, let go of me, you damn dirty ape!
Oh yeah.
And it's like, he just had to do it.
And then of course the second and the third one, what's crazy to me is that those movies are PG-13.
Yeah.
And I feel like Matt Reeves got away with so much stuff.
I think
For
it's because
it being
it happened
PG-13.
to be happening to apes.
Yeah, maybe. There's
Ape
just
on
so
ape
much
violence.
though. It's just so much, and it was really good, and it's obviously really dark. And I feel like, well, Batman obviously, it's dark, it's gritty, and I
He's
feel
also
like
very distinct style of making movies.
Mhm.
So
So I think the Batman's very promising. The whole Catwoman thing. I don't think you've seen the new trailer where
I'm
it's
avoiding it now
Bat and the Cat.
because-
I saw it when we went to watch what was it, Licorice Pizza. They showed the new trailer and it's like, Selena, wait, and it's like, they have that thing, and then Alfred is like, oh, new friend of yours, and Bruce is just like, oh, I'm not too sure yet. So obviously they have that, connection that Tom King did that you love. No, I'm kidding, but.
that connection was already there. Tom King didn't do anything to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting. You have a young Catwoman and a young Bruce Wayne, and the future is promising with them. Obviously, she's a villain. She's a cat burglar.
She's in it for herself. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call her a villain because she's not like other villains who hurt people
Yeah.
for pleasure or anything like that. Her goal is to just steal to make ends
Yeah.
meet for herself.
And there's a scene in that trailer where, I don't know, maybe they're at her place or something, and Batman's there in his suit, and there's a bunch of cats cuddling around his legs, and he's like, you have a lot of cats. And she's like, I have a thing about strays, and obviously because she personally feels like a stray, blah blah blah.
And
She has
also, he followed her home.
yeah, and it's but it's such a funny scene because he's just all the cats
In
are
the bat suit?
yeah, on his boots and everything. They're just cuddling around his,
oh,
and then
God.
he's just like,
I wish you didn't tell me that.
what?
'Cause I would have wanted to see that in the
I'm
movie.
sorry.
Oh, it's
he's
cool.
and he's
It's
like,
cool.
you have a lot of cats. It's funny, but it's good. I think it's good. It's definitely a step up from the Halle Berry Catwoman movie, but and Halle Berry's a great actress. But just that movie, that whole thing they did with Catwoman was a little off. But
Little?
it was the Daredevil of its time. Well, but I feel like they came out in the same year. But
kind of did, right?
but it's good. I'm excited. I ordered Tom Taylor's Nightwing on Barnes and Noble. Tristan, you could have bought it from us. Tristan, we have one right here. Tristan, cancel it. Cancel it, Tristan. Just kidding. It's supposed to come out this week, and I'm gonna read it. I highly recommend it. If you guys aren't able to get it with us, we understand we sell out. You know, Westico wasn't able to get any. I might order more just for them as well. You know, any chance you can to read it, read it. Whether Barnes and Noble or any of the other comic shops, you know, for sure, pick it up. Don't steal it. Pick it up, buy it. Don't read it in the store.
Don't pull a Catwoman.
Yeah, don't open it and read it in the store. Like, buy it and then read it. Support Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. They need to feed their cats. No, but I feel like this artist and this writer have like their own personal pets, and that's what they're like. Let's throw in our pets in there. This dog reminds me of my dog, and then he's gonna draw like this dog reminds me of my dog, and then like, I mean that's the only way. Like, it only makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
Like, why else would they? But I guess this is gonna conclude our podcast. We went a little 15-16 minutes over. We thank you guys that were watching us, that stayed till the end. Tristan, we appreciate you watching us. What is it? Matt's cousin, Gabriel, Dalila.
Saul, everybody. Dalila.
What's the plan for the topic in the next episode for KaboomTube? We don't know
We
yet.
have a couple ideas. We even mentioned a few here. So
We might throw in that some Marvel My Hero Academia thing that you have, Tristan. We might see how we might elaborate on that. And then, of course, you know, there's a lot of other things we can talk about. I don't know exactly what's coming out. I know this Wednesday The Scorched is coming out. So that whole Spawn team up
Spawn
thing.
and Friends.
Spawn and Friends, yeah.
Spawn and his amazing friends.
Which we will be getting all the covers. We're expecting some signed copies to be coming in.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully by tomorrow. They usually do come the Monday before. And then, you know, we post it. We do have layaway if you guys want to get it. But what else is coming out this Wednesday? There's a lot of stuff coming out. But I know The Scorched is one of the big ones. But yeah, we'll see what would be on topic for next time. Maybe we'll read I know you've been reading the new Batman with this new writer, and I should probably read it too. I haven't read it. I know I kind of looked through the first one that you showed me where he's just like, don't touch that, and then like and it's like a whole scene. By the way, amazing announcements for South Texas Comic Cons. You guys excited? Yes.
Yes.
There's some
that's
stuff.
Just the tip of the
Yeah, like
iceberg,
there's
man.
like, so you know how we always joke about how we know who might be there or who will be there or whatever. This time, like, me and Matt finally have ideas of who might be there. You know, from the source himself. But we can't tell you guys. You know what? I'll tell you one of them. Crazy, right?
Crazy.
So yeah, I mean, just don't tell anyone, guys. But yeah, April O'Neil from the original TMNT, which I didn't even know she came out in Halloween Town. Also, like,
Yeah,
I saw
looked
that.
at her like thing.
Yeah, I was like,
stuff.
Halloween Town. So I thought that was interesting. Who else? What's his name? From that should be it, guys. So tomorrow we open up at 12. The books I'm getting Wednesday. All right. Well, it looks like we'll see you on Tuesday, Tristan, during the live video. But yeah, that should conclude this. Thank you guys for watching.